Surely, living in a van and traveling across the country is no longer a new concept. We wanted to see if it was possible to turn our love for travel into a full-time adventure. Like many others, we left our unfulfilling jobs to live a life of freedom on the open road, to see the world while we still have our health, and to make lasting memories for us to look back on later in life. Here's what we've seen and where we've been so far. Come along for the adventure as we make our way to Alaska and across this beautiful country we call home.
Well, today is the day. We are officially heading North Island. We've been getting the van ready the last week and making sure we have things, wrapping things up at work. Kyle and I both finished up at our jobs last week. Beautiful day. It's been like blue sky, sunshine the last 2 weeks here on the island. Cannot ask for better weather here. We've been planning this for the last couple years and it feels so surreal that it's happening, and we're just excited to get started.
Vancouver Island is a place that we fell in love with pretty much right away. A couple years ago, we took the ferry over in our broken down at the time Hyundai Santa Fe that had just taken us all the way to the Arctic Ocean. During our time here, we had bought our current home on wheels and converted it all on our own with minimal tools and space. We'd had the privilege of exploring the island from top to bottom, east to west, and we weren't sure when we'd be back, so we got in a few last-minute trips that had somehow missed our radar. Here, the real adventures begin once you leave the pavement. Alannah's a little sick, but it's our first night on the road again, traveling, so this calls for at least one celebratory drink.
I'm not overly sick, I'm just extremely run down, and I've been talking way more than I usually do apparently. So I'm like losing my voice at this point.
Yeah, we had a really good chat with our neighbors beside us.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fitting actually, because they've been traveling for the last 50 years together, and this is our first night, so I just felt like there was some sort of reason why we had to chat with them today. As we drove, I must admit, we had some doubts about leaving. Honestly, how do you leave the most beautiful place in the world? We made some great connections here and made it our home, but our happiest moments we'd found that were in our home on four wheels, and the strong desire to explore outweighed any doubts that we had had. The travel bug is real, and it had bitten us pretty hard. There were new roads ahead that we just had to explore. The modern history of Sointula Island began in the early 1900s when a group of Finnish immigrants arrived on Malcolm Island with the hope of creating a utopian community. The group aimed to establish a cooperative society based on socialist principles where resources and labor would be shared equally. They had named the settlement Sointula, which in Finnish means place of harmony. However, the idealistic vision of the community quickly faced challenges. The settlers struggled to make the land productive, and harsh conditions, combined with financial difficulties, led to the failure of the original cooperative experiment. Many settlers had left after a few years, but the community persisted. Today, it's a vibrant community with that same utopian feel.
Diesel, what's this? Look, what's this? Not interested.
He's like, no, I'm good.
Okay. I thought it was cool.
You ready to take on the staircase?
Yes. It's not maintained past this point. Looks pretty good. That's pretty sturdy. We're just gonna go slow.
It's just made out of old trees.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah. We have to be in Port Hardy on Monday, first thing in the morning. I think we may just end up going towards Cape Scott Way. It's about an 80-kilometer stretch from Port Hardy to the coast where Cape Scott is. And there's lots to do and see in between there. Lots of logging roads. Last time we did it, it was fairly rough. And we're really trying to be nice to our home on wheels. We're in it for the long run here. You know, we're here for a good time and a long time. So we don't want to beat it down first thing. We'll get a feel for it, see how it goes. Yeah, we're really enjoying our last few days here on Vancouver Island before we get on to the ferry to head to Prince Rupert. We got coffee, of course, because these logging roads require
Thank you.
you to stay quite caffeinated. You can take that one. We got an apple crumble.
Ooh.
It's cold, it looks super good. And then the last blueberry scone. So
Ooh.
sugar and caffeine, baby.
A little bit of cleaning up to do along the way, taking the jug out and then taking the pump out because it was in here slipping out and then water was spilling everywhere, and then I pulled it out and spilled more water.
We're posted up in the town of Holberg. Food was fantastic. We were feeling pretty full afterwards, so we just went down the road, found a little spot along the Holberg Inlet, and we were going to camp out for the night. We've got a few more days before we get on the ferry. We have one extra day, actually, because thankfully Alannah told me to look earlier today. It's Tuesday and not Monday. Thankfully it's an extra day and not the day before. So if we weren't to look and were have missed it, that would have just been the worst thing ever. Definitely a very expensive mishap. Thankfully that's not the case. We're gonna post up and see what tomorrow brings.
Good morning. We are sitting outside of our van and there's just been a little bit of chaos happening the last few minutes. Diesel just went out to do his business, came back to the van, and out of nowhere a dog showed up. It's a female and we're pretty sure she's in heat or something because Diesel's going nuts. So they have just been playing and, you know, showing their love and affection, I think, for one another, and it was really comical to watch. And then I had gone over just to check on them, and they decided to go cool off in the ocean. And right now the tide is way out, and it's a little smelly and just not great. So we really didn't want Diesel to go in there. So he did, and I had to call Kyle over to bring the harness and the leash because there's no way. Like, we were shaking the treats, and like a cat, you know how you do that for your cat? It just wasn't working. So we had to hook him up, bring him over, tie him up, and then clean him up, and it was pretty nasty on the towel. And then we just kind of sat down a few minutes ago, so it's kind of been funny because now the dog, she keeps coming over here and is like, hey, what's going on? And Diesel's just whining, like he just wants her so bad. So it's really funny because we don't really see this side of Diesel very often. So we're just having our morning coffee and just watching all this unfold in front of us.
He's even dressed up a little bit to try and get his new girlfriend to come back. That's a good look there, buddy. Now, I think it's safe to say that northern Vancouver Island is probably one of the last few places on Earth to have true wilderness. There's a reason they filmed the show alone out here. Even though you can be only a 30-minute boat ride away from the nearest town, you can still find yourself completely lost and away from any civilization.
This is a ritual now. When you come to Port Hardy, you get onion rings at the A&W. Last time we were here, I had this craving for onion rings. I literally don't know why. And Kyle just rolled up. It's like we were magnetized to the drive-thru. And I'm like, we haven't even really had like an official breakfast yet.
I wasn't in control. The wheel just started turning into the drive-thru, and here we are. Those are heavy. It's got some weight to them. So yeah, now it's tradition for onion rings in Port Hardy.
They're great.
Probably super hot, but the Northern Expedition takes you for a 17-hour voyage through some of the most pristine territory that can only be viewed by water. The Inside Passage stretches about 1,300 miles along the coast of British Columbia and down to the southern parts of Alaska.
So we're just passing through the Queen Charlotte Strait, which then goes to the Queen Charlotte Sound. And near the Queen Charlotte Sound is where it's more open to the ocean, so it does get a little more choppy. I don't know if it feels better up here or inside.
So we just had a 15-minute window where we could go to the car deck to check on Diesel, and so this was our first time checking in on him. So I went down and he was so excited to come out, and so we just kind of walked around where all the other cars are. There's a really small pet area where there's a bunch of kennels. It's so small. We checked it out and I'm like, this is just, we can't do anything in here. So his big dog wants to walk, so we just kind of walked around the whole car deck, and then he met a couple dogs too. So everyone's doing the same thing. I met another girl, she had a golden retriever, and I'm like, is this what we do? She goes, yeah, this is what I'm doing, so if you're doing it, then I'm doing it, then it must be right. So perfect. So we're just back up here at our table, just hanging out, and we'll check on him in a little bit. Tomato basil bisque.
It looks so good.
With some Parmesan that they kindly put on top for us. Oh, that's so good. I was just thinking like a grilled cheese would be like so good.
You had to say it. Yeah, I got the soup catcher here. That's really good. Can I do one gold nail and one of the dark ales, please? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I don't know if the camera is going to do any justice, but it's getting pretty rough out there now, and the captain just came on the announcement and suggested that everyone sits down, or if they're walking, to use the handrails, because it's going to be super rough for the next 30 minutes due to the weather. And just before he came on the announcements, we're just sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the boat's really moving. And we're really feeling it, so either the beer is going to help or it is not going to help, so stay tuned for that.
So once you pass Clem 2, the channel gets very, very narrow. At some points, narrowest it will get is 1,400 meters, and the depth is even more than that. That allows the ships to get really close to the shores. So even with the dark, gloomy day, it's still pretty amazing scenery-wise.
We've seen lots of eagles. We've seen a few
dolphins, and we saw a humpback whale as whale.
Wow.
Having one whale at a time. Okay.
The scenic route winds through a labyrinth of islands, channels, and fjords, offering stunning views of the coastal mountains, forests, and wildlife. And although a bit of a small fortune to board with your vehicle, it's still one of the most iconic and beautiful waterways in the world. We had a lot of road travel ahead of us, so this was definitely a more favorable option compared to the more traveled routes through southern BC.
Long day on the ferry,
Made it to dry ground, my friends.
but it was absolutely beautiful the entire way.
Yeah, what a great
Really impressed.
What a great experience. That was well worth the money, the time. Long trip. 17 hours
It
in
was,
total.
but you know what? We met so many awesome people along the way
Yeah, that was
and
cool.
exchanged stories. The staff on the ferry were awesome. The food was good. And Diesel did really well too. We came down to check on him every 15-minute window opportunity. I think they made 4 or 5 calls, so we just checked it on him every time. Yeah, we're in the van now. I'm just starting my bedtime routine because we need to find somewhere to camp for the night.
Feels real now. Moving along, hitting the road again. The last week or so felt like, we love being on the island, but we're moving into some uncharted territory, and we're very excited. Places we haven't been to before, so
We're ready.
we are ready.
And we're tired.
We got a place plugged into the iOverlander, so let's go find ourselves a home for tonight. Thank you so much. From Prince Rupert, we travel another 230 kilometers along Highway 16 before making it to the true beginning of our northward journey. This stretch of road is not to be rushed as it winds along the Skina River, offering some of the greatest scenery and potential camp spots you can find. We're scoping out a river spot. There's also a waterfall we're going to try and check out either tonight or tomorrow morning. From the pictures I saw online, this camp spot, you go right onto the riverbed and it looks pretty incredible. So we're going to find that and probably set up for the night. Probably one of the best campsites I think we've ever found. This whole drive in, we were saying like the mountains are just ginormous around us, and we're right on this river here. We were following the Skina River out of Prince Rupert along Highway 16. Just beautiful turquoise water. First night back on the mainland, camping out in the van. This'll do. There's still something that makes us a little bit giddy when finding an epic campsite to call home for the night. I think that's why we find this way of travel so exciting. And at least for my brain, solving the puzzle of how far you're going to travel for the day and where you're going to stop to park that night that's both safe and exciting is something I don't think I'll get sick of. It It's just crazy to think we're this far north already, and it's pretty amazing because as far north as we are, there's still so much driving to get to the actual north.
Close as you can to the falls, and it got pretty wet, but you can just feel the energy coming off of the water falling. It's pretty awesome.
TLC was so wrong. Always go chasing waterfalls. The Stewart-Cassiar Highway would offer us the more remote and less traveled route to the north. It's a unique and peaceful alternative to the Alaska Highway a little further east. It connects the small village of Stewart, BC, near the Alaska border, to the abandoned mining town of Cassiar, located several hundred kilometers to the north. Some kilometers to put in over the next few days. Let's do this. We just made our stop in the visitor center to, of course, grab our sticker and our guidebook to the Salmon Glacier. There's a whole bunch of stops along the way, so it's always good to be a tourist. Stop in your visitor center, ask a few questions, and get the locals' insight on where to go and what to see.
So like
Canada?
Canada, America, Canada. Do my ice skaters.
It's so quiet, eh?
We just drove through the border, and you actually don't have to stop to show your passport or birth certificate or anything like that. But on the way out, when we leave from Hyder back into BC, then you have to show some form of identification. So kind of interesting, because usually, you're used to showing it both ways, but you just kind of roll on through. But I mean, look at this.
1 second you're in Canada, the next you're in America.
So crazy. We made it to the viewpoint of Salmon Glacier, It is the world's largest and glacier that you can actually like drive up to with the most road access, and it's the 5th largest glacier in North America. We currently cannot see it because we are in a cloud. So we are currently standing here waiting for the clouds to move over so we can get a better glimpse.
Waiting for our window.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of clear. But not clear.
It is right there. What do you guys think?
I think I'm starting to hallucinate.
Starting to imagine it?
Yeah, you can see it a bit, look.
However, will it show on camera? You be the judge. We're actually looking at pictures from our guidebook that show what we should be looking at. You know what, regardless, from what we've seen from the trip up to where we are now at the viewpoint, it's just spectacular. There's no reason to wish it was a sunny day instead, because we see it how we see it now, and regardless, still pretty amazing. I'm grateful. I'm pretty stoked for what we've seen. Worth the bumpy ride up here, 100%. We actually met a couple of other travelers riding on their adventure motorcycles they actually were just up in Prudhoe Bay. They're on a pretty amazing journey themselves, and that's what it's all about, meeting people that are doing, you know, like-minded things and seeing the world, because life is short. You got to get out there and see what you can.
It's this kind of experience that draws us to the out-of-the-way roads. So often, such roads give you the best of two worlds. There's the convenience of traveling in your own truck, together with a sense of the primeval whenever you step out of the door. Certainly, this is true of Canada's Stewart-Cassiar Road. It stretches for 500 miles from the Hazelton region to Watson Lake on the Alcan Highway.
Incredible views. I can't believe we didn't do this last time we came down the Stewart-Cassiar Highway. We're gonna make our way back towards Mesiadin Junction, fill up on gas, and then continue our way down the Stewart-Cassiar Highway. The further you go, you kind of really get a feel with how long and vast this highway goes. This whole stretch through northern BC into the Yukon, it's just, it goes on forever. So thankfully it's very scenic. But yeah, although it's as remote and rugged as it is, it's still very accessible to anyone that can get behind the wheel. So as Alannah takes the reins, I think I'll just sit back, relax, dive into some reading material to pass the time. Doing all right down there? Good boy. If we've learned anything from being on the road the past couple of years, it's always take advantage of a good clean bathroom, fill your water whenever possible, and take any form of shower when the opportunity arises. This is what it's come to.
This had to be done.
Left, hi buddy. Do you want to vlog today? We took full advantage of having a lake right in front of us, so we washed ourselves as much as we could tolerate. The big question, do we tackle the Telegraph Creek road? That we haven't decided yet, because we know we're going to be doing some more remote, rugged roads over the next couple months before we start heading east to Ontario to see our families. So we're kind of like, which roads do we really beat up our home on wheels and which ones do we save for another time? So I don't know. I feel like we're going to be missing out, but I always feel like we're missing out on something as we drive. But that's why we always say you gotta do certain highways 2, maybe 3 times.
I got a plan that won't bring me down. I'm gonna burn that big store down, then I'll be free as a bird. The Walmart parking lot.
Well, that was definitely the worst gas bill we've had so far. Thankfully, we didn't let it get too low, but we just pulled into Dease Lake, and this is the intersection where you can start heading west towards Telegraph Creek or continuing going north. Alannah's just in there grabbing a couple supplies, and I can only imagine how expensive those are too, but gas definitely shot up. We paid $2.20 per liter. You know what, thinking back a few years, we were paying that pretty regularly just during that time. In the world, gas had gone up substantially, so it is what it is. It's the price you pay to be on the road.
Okay, I just grabbed like some sauce for spaghetti later.
Okay.
And just a zucchini.
Some of the best beer making we've ever had, probably because we love the Yukon so much. Ice Fog IPA, I've never seen that one.
Yeah, so we've decided not to go to Telegraph Creek. We want to, however, still feeling overwhelmed with all the stops that we'd like to get to. And we are trying to be mindful of the weather because, you know, winter can happen very soon up north. And we have a lot of things we need to see still along the Stewart-Cassiar. So I think we're gonna save that for another trip down the road and keep on moving north.
Habitation and any kind of facilities or help are strung out along the road with a lot of miles separating them. Moose and deer antlers tacked to the gas station walls tell part of the story of this land. Hunters have been flying in here for years and then hopping on to outlying camps by chartered float plane or packing in with guides. Now, the road is bringing in others who drive the road and fly simply to admire the beauty.
Nestled another few kilometers west of Jade City lies Cassiar, BC. Founded in the late 1950s, the main economic driver, like many other out-of-the-way towns, was the Cassiar asbestos mine. The town grew very rapidly, having everything a small town could need. They even had a small ski resort. Now, of course, the mine faced environmental and health concerns over the years, and once the mining activity ceased, so did the population. Today, Cassiar is almost entirely abandoned, but the remnants of the past still remain. It's interesting that the two towns the Stewart-Cassiar are named after no longer lay along the main road. Our curiosity got the best of us, and we decided to take the 12-kilometer detour towards the small town and check it out for ourselves.
really cool seeing like these buildings just abandoned. And I want to go down there and look in the window, but I also don't.
Yeah.
It might not be safe either. Go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with the safety thing. It's definitely not because we're scared or anything. It's, just because it was an abandoned asbestos mining town. I mean, some of these buildings are fairly dilapidated. They've just crumbled, but I'm looking at some of these other log cabins and...
It's like move-in ready.
Yeah.
So nice.
You'd buy one of these up north Ontario for like $500,000. A fixer-upper.
Yeah, like it's really, we're saying it's so pretty here. Out on the water, first thing, paddling around Boya Lake. The lake is so calm. It's this beautiful turquoise color. It's definitely a great start to the morning. So we're just kind of paddling along the shoreline, scoping it out. I think we're the only ones on the water this morning. We brought some oatmeal to make a little stop in a bit. And then we'll see what else we get up to. Oh, jelly legs! It's chilly this morning. So pretty here. The lake's a lot bigger than we thought it was. Just lots of little islands, and you kind of paddle around them, and then you find more lake to paddle. So it's good. This one.
We're technically in a provincial park, so can't get the drone up to really show you the grand scale of the blueness of the water. Even when we were paddling, there was parts 20-25 feet down. You can very clearly see the bottom just by climbing up a little bit more. Really puts things into perspective. The lake is fed by glacial meltwater from nearby glaciers. The water contains fine, powdery particles called glacial flour, a mixture of finely ground rock dust created by glaciers grinding against the bedrock. These tiny particles scatter light, giving the water its bright turquoise blue appearance. To reach the small town of Atlin, British Columbia, you first have to make the 5-hour trek through the Yukon before dipping back down into BC. The road into town is a spectacle in itself as you wind up and down through the mountains to get there. We made it from Watson Lake and we are just outside of Atlin. So to get there, you actually have to go through the Yukon for a few hours and then dip back down into the small town of Atlin, BC. There's only about 500 people that permanently reside there. Lots of good hikes. There's some paddling in the area. So we're gonna check it out tomorrow and see what it's all about. But regardless, there's camp for tonight. And we have a wonderful mountain that we are going to climb on up there tomorrow morning. So we'll see you then. Well, today will be a character builder as we are going to hike up Mount White. Had a little trouble last night finding a place to camp, and then we stumbled upon the trailhead to this mountain here. So got us thinking. We looked at all trails, and it's only a 3-kilometer trip up. However, it's pretty much all vertical, so it's gonna be really steep, and then a knee breaker on the way down, so it should be fun. Come on, bud. Let's go. There you go. Up. There you go, you little mountain goat.
This terrain took a turn.
Here. There you go.
Hi! We did it!
All right. On to the next steep section. Diesel knows a good view when he sees one. It's not a pizza or a turkey sandwich, but it's better than no food. We had to duck down off the summit because we were pretty exposed and the wind was cutting right through us, so we found a little spot to tuck away and eat our lousy Cliff Bars. But we're gonna enjoy a little bit of time up here, and we have plenty of food and some frosty cold beverages in the fridge in the van once we get down there. Definitely worth it. You just feel like you're in an old place, a place that's seen some stuff. Mountaintops that have been here since the beginning of time.
This morning we let Diesel out to do his business, and we looked out the van and he was sitting right here admiring the view in front of him. The sun's just coming up over the mountain and the fog's just kind of rising above the little lake here. We're just having our morning coffee and soaking up some power with our solar panels, and then we are going to head into Atlin.
It's a nice view, eh, buddy? What do you think? Would you live here? Yeah, we'll build a cabin here or something? Okay. So what do you think? Every town with a piano, you'll play My Heart Will Go On?
See a piano, play a piano. Play a piano, play My Heart Will Go On.
I love it. One of the locals of Atlin had said something that had stuck with me ever since visiting the small mountain town. Atlin is the end of the road. Therefore, people come here with a purpose. Travelers aren't just passing through to the next best destination. Atlin is the destination. I can understand why locals are so proud to live here. And for those looking for adventure, or even just a slower pace of life, this place would take a hold of you almost immediately, as it did to us. Well, it looks like we just snagged a pretty epic camp spot. It's really early in the day, but I don't think we're going to pass this opportunity up. We've got this epic view of the mountains behind us. Honestly, I feel like I could live here. That water is looking super inviting, so I think we're going to get the boat down and get out there. Diesel and I are out on Atlin Lake. I have to say, this is probably the nicest lake I've paddled on so far. I think it even tops Boya Lake. The water's insanely clear. You can see right down to the bottom. Very calm today, but this lake is known to work up waves 1 to 2 meters in size. It can change on you in a flash. This is definitely gonna be one of those places that is going to have to be visited again. You can definitely pack in as much exploring and adventuring with the time you have here, but to do it right, it requires a bit more time. This is exactly what I pictured when I was sitting in that office all those days, picturing what our adventures were gonna look like. This is it right here. It's a tough call, but if I had to choose my favorite part of Canada, I'd say it'd be right here in the Yukon Territory. You could even call it Canada's last frontier. A place of solitude and rich history, where you can experience nature in its raw, unspoiled form. It's an accomplishment in itself just to get here. We'd spend a few nights stocking up on supplies and taking advantage of the last Walmart run for a while, as we'd head into more remote and expensive towns further north. Oddly enough, we found it kind of comfortable spending the last few nights in Whitehorse. Generally, when we go into a city, we just kind of want to get our stuff and get the heck out of there. But I guess if there's any city that we're going to hang out in, it would be Whitehorse, because it actually doesn't even really feel like a city. But we're pretty excited to get back on the road and check out some more remote locations, smaller towns, and yeah, just do some exploring. All throughout the Whitehorse region, you can see the sandy dunes that were left behind, as this area was once the bottom of a glacial lake. Following the discovery of Klondike gold in 1896, Carcross became a popular stopping off place for stampeders in their migration to and from the goldfields in Dawson City. As we began to head towards Skagway, scattered along the shore and up the hillsides, you'll see the decaying remains of various mining ventures. The Windy Arm landmark is an extension of Tagish Lake and extends along the narrow valley just south of Carcross. During the gold rush, it was just one of the many hazards one would encounter when venturing to Dawson. Being a natural wind tunnel, sometimes seeing waves 1.5 meters high, wind could increase extremely quickly, catching even experienced boatmen unprepared. With this being the case, sadly many gold seekers perished in this stretch of the lake. The wind would whip the water into a frenzy, capsizing the makeshift boats that travelers would use on their way to seek their fortune. It goes for a while, eh?
Bro, it actually goes down. It looks pretty sturdy. It's also super wet. Honestly. I'm not gonna go further.
No. Yeah, where that is coming down, definitely don't go.
Yeah. But that goes far. It like arches.
It's the okay, it goes right in there.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Bro, imagine working here like when you
No. Yeah, that would be a...
If you look at the ceiling, it's all there's water droplets. It's super chill in here. It's like an AC.
I almost feel guilty for all those times I complained about going into an office every day. There's a guiding diesel. Our guiding light.
So there's light in the tunnel.
that comfortable between the tracks? He literally just gets comfortable anywhere. Yeah, good work today. Good work.
Go back to the house. Oh, the nice and cool there.
If you haven't noticed the extra human traveling alongside us yet, this is Sandro, an internet friend who became a real friend after we finally got the chance to spend some time together and swap travel stories after his adventure to Tuktoyaktuk. He also lives and travels full-time in his vehicle and is currently on his way to Argentina in his Tesla.
So you like come off the highway, go down a road, and then it kind of opens up like a boat launch parking lot area. So then we kind of just took the van and crawled along the shoreline on all the rocks, and then it opened up to this awesome spot here. So we're just posted up, hanging out, making some dinner. Tomorrow we're going to Alaska, which is really exciting. We're finally making it there for real this time.
This is Beluga. Let me show you the front first. I have a lot of storage up here. So this is kind of all my hiking gear, my dirty laundry, my charging cables, but I like to keep all the dirty and stinky stuff in here. It's kind of a funny looking car in many different ways, but I've been in this for almost 2 years now on the open road. But this is pretty much my living room, my bedroom. 90% of everything I have in here. I don't have a storage unit. I'm very minimalist. As much as people think that I spend a lot of time in this car, but I really don't. I live out like you guys, right out in the world. I have induction right here. So, I can cook with propane. It was kind of awful to cook on days like this. And then I got my spice rack right here. I mean, if you're gonna be living out your car, you gotta live luxurious, right? It's all about the seasoning. And then when I sleep, I fold the seats down, I have a mattress, and then I actually sleep the opposite way, so I look out this window. So if you go in climate, so it has camp mode. So essentially the car will stay at a certain temperature that you set. So during blizzards, I could be nice and cozy, and then during the summertime, I can nice and cool. And the car knows you're sleeping inside of it, and will keep you safe. If somebody gets near it, it gives you an alert. Yeah, this has been home for the last like 2 years, and now I have ambitions of going down to South America, but I want to do it electric. You know, after I went to the Arctic Ocean, I'm like, what's next? And I love to drive. Most of my road trips, I don't pay for charging. There's a lot of free charging around. 55,000 miles in a year, so about like roughly 90,000 kilometers, about $500 in charging. So that's less than a cent per mile driven, which is...
That's insane.
It's so crazy,
yeah.
You know.
Compared to how much gas this thing takes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man.
But yeah, so like just reducing my expenditures is kind of how I maintain this lifestyle, and meeting people like Cal and Alannah and Diesel, of course.
Can't forget Diesel.
I know.
Whether you're simply traveling, van life, overlanding, truck camper, or an EV, it really doesn't matter. It's extremely easy to get caught up in what you should have to tackle certain trips, and although preparation is key, the best travel vehicle for you is the one you have right now.
We're just gonna head over to the US border today, cross over into Alaska to Skagway, and spend the morning there and just kind of check out the town and the shops before we head to Haines. So it's another beautiful morning. It's still windy where we are right now, but we're really starting to see some bigger mountains. Yeah, we're excited. We got everything ready to go to cross the border. It's a big day. We're excited. It's already August 10th.
Yeah, we're a little later than
August
we expected.
10th, yeah. But you know what? That's the beauty of slow travel and just taking your time and enjoying the moment. And, you know, the only time limit we really have is taking the top of the world highway into Dawson City early September. So we're going to spend as much time as we can in Alaska before we have to come back. I think we can manage that just fine.
As long as I can remember, I've always wanted to experience Alaska. Such a glorified place in North America, and for a good reason. It's very wild, and I like to call Yukon Canada's Alaska, but I can't rightfully say that because I've never actually been to Alaska to experience it. So we'll see if that's actually true. But from here, we're going to get our passports ready and cross the border. been talking about this for a long time, and it's cool to finally be in the places. You looked at it on a map, you checked out the pictures on Google, you watched other people's YouTube videos, and it never does justice watching or looking at those things. You have to experience places yourself, because it's always, from what I found, it's always a different experience. You get to see it with your own eyes. But yeah, we're just stoked to be here. Let's go get some breakfast in us. The town of Skagway saw a massive influx of prospectors after the initial discovery of gold in the Yukon Territory. Skagway in particular was a crucial gateway, serving as a key port for those traveling to the gold fields, as the deep water in the channel wouldn't freeze during the harsh winters, allowing year-round access. Still a colorful, bustling town even today, welcoming thousands of tourists annually, and with probably the most jewelry stores I'd ever seen in such a small radius.
There's a spaceship. Cheers.
To life.
To life. Ooh. It's a blonde ale. It's good. Very flavorful.
Yeah, it gives a lot of flavor.
This goes on the inside of the windshield. Lane 1, we have to be there by 1:30.
Okay.
So 45 minutes.
Amazing. We're all set.
Oh, and
Another pamphlet.
another one. Okay. See ya, Skagway.
We'd get the opportunity for another glimpse at the Inside Passage, this time on the hour-long ferry from Skagway to the coastal town of Haines, Alaska. Get the chance to meet a few of the locals, including Luna, the 3-year-old female brown bear who frequents the fishing weir for food.
And we're back in BC. We just passed through Canada Customs, went very smooth. It's so interesting crossing these borders because there's literally just like one booth and that's all they have here because traffic is just not as busy as crossing from Ontario to New York, for example. So all is well. We are in BC. We're back on, what time is this? Pacific Standard Time?
Yeah.
We're on Pacific Standard Time now. It's hard to keep track. Not even like keeping track of what day of the week it is anymore. It's just like, what time zone are we in? But very scenic, lots of mountains, and shortly we'll be back in the Yukon.
There's an abundance of border crossings when traveling through this part of the country. Between northwestern BC and southern Yukon and Alaska, it seemed that we'd been crossing quite often. This is also one of the most scenic drives that we'd experienced, as it ventures through the non-polar ice fields on the western side of the continent. The Haines Road, a 240-kilometer stretch of road with no services connecting Haines, Alaska to Haines Junction, Yukon Territory, traveling along the scenic St. Elias mountain range. Before the road's construction, access to Haines was primarily by water or air, initially built to facilitate the movement of troops and supplies in the 1940s. And like most road construction in the region, the project was a significant engineering challenge due to the rugged terrain and harsh weather conditions. We decided to camp out at our little river washout spot last night. It's gnawing at me this morning because I really want to go through the washout section because this road goes pretty far back into the Alsek Valley. It just looks incredible. So I know for the next little while it's going to be one of those roads that I'm going to want to come back to, and we don't have the proper recovery gear. So I did go in the water last night, and the water does come up to about my knee in some spots, and the sand underneath is quite soft. So we probably could do it, but it's just not worth it to get stuck out here because we haven't seen anybody come down this road. It's one of those things we'll have to come back, maybe a little more equipped. But yeah, really wish I was setting up a shot to be going across the river because that would look way cooler, but just setting up the shot to show us leaving our camp spot for the day. So there's a pretty beautiful mountain range behind us, so hopefully that'll suffice for now. Yeah, not nearly as cool, but it'll do. We've got some fun things happening today. You can really only see this part of the world by air. Home to Canada's largest peak, Mount Logan, we had to get a closer glimpse. If you guys are still here and find you're enjoying this video, do us a huge favor, hit that like button, and most importantly, subscribe to keep up with all future adventures. It's true that without your support, we really wouldn't be able to do this.
My ears plugged up so I can't hear myself. So we just pulled over for camp for tonight. We went out in that plane earlier today, and my goodness, was that amazing. That was the first time I've been up in the mountains like that before. Kyle too, and we were kind of just in awe the whole time. Our pilot Catherine was awesome. She identified all the mountains and the peaks and the glaciers and the rivers while we were up there, and it was so cool. Such a beautiful, sunny, clear sky day. We actually got to see Mount Logan, which is the tallest mountain in Canada, and typically you can't always see it because there's cloud cover, and we were able to see it from where our loop was on our route today, so that was pretty spectacular. And then we saw a few other massive mountains as well. They're the St. Elias mountain range, so they're actually like the youngest and fastest growing mountains. They're actually like, they said 5 to 10 earthquakes a day because the tectonic plates are shifting. So they said maybe down the road the mountains may actually end up in Alaska. So pretty wild. Kind of makes you want to go hiking back there a bit more, and there's just so many more things to do, and you can only see so much from where you are, like in the main area on the ground here, but there's just so much behind those other mountains, and it just makes you really appreciate what's back there, and like the water source and everything. It's incredible. So we're just posted up here kind of near Destruction Bay, just at a rest area. We're going to whip up some bacon and eggs and kind of hang out for the night. It's still really nice out. There's like a light breeze, so the bugs aren't really around. And then yeah, tomorrow we're gonna head to Alaska and actually be in Alaska for a bit longer instead of this in and out nonsense. So we're looking forward to being there.
We have some ground to cover today, and our goal today is to at least make it to Tok, Alaska. So we're crossing the border, should be there within the next few hours. And they weren't kidding. The roads are pretty atrocious. Tons of frost heaves, and just because of the extreme temperatures, it's always divoting and creating new potholes. So we've definitely slowed our pace down a little bit. Are you traveling? Sometimes he'll come up and do this when he's just feeling really sucky, but it's mostly just for food. If you're good, there'll be a little piece of bacon for you, okay?
If you're good.
If you're good.
Even if you're not, you get one.
Yeah, exactly. We're driving in pretty remote places, so I like to just put my hand up to wave to people as I'm driving by. And the only person to wave back today has been a cop. And actually, he waved to me. I didn't wave first. But for the last, I think, like 15, 20 cars, I've put my hand up and just nobody wants to wave back. Makes you feel nice, you know? It's someone waves, you wave to them. It's just a good human gesture. I don't know.
Yes! We got one! We did it!
You can drive through Alaska for days, and the little blue dot on Google Maps would hardly move. Alaska is so vast that it's larger than Texas, California, and Montana combined. About half of Alaska's total land area is sparsely populated or completely uninhabited. We continued driving north to the city of Fairbanks, where we had every intention of tackling the Haul Road, otherwise known as the Dalton Highway. This would be a massive undertaking, as this road stretches deep into the north, over the Brooks Range into the Arctic Ocean. And although we'd seen the Dempster Highway a few years prior, the Dalton Highway actually goes 40 miles further to the north. Now, this may not seem like much, but just to say you made it to the very top of North America is something we wish we had the chance to brag about. But with nasty weather coming for the next 2 to 3 weeks, we made the conscious decision to start making our way south instead. After another re-up in the town of Fairbanks, and on our way south again, we'd somehow stumbled upon the North Pole in Alaska and made our way into the small town of Healy before seeing Denali National Park. We'd learned fast just how temperamental Alaska's weather can be, even in the summertime.
Welcome to Alaska in August, where the weather is just not in our favor.
It's not. August is a rainy season, and we've learned that firsthand. We've had a few sunny days. We've actually got lucky. We knew people that came up and got nothing but rain.
But the summers are really short here, and
Yeah.
we've been spending a few days in Fairbanks. We went to the Chena Hot Springs, and we went for a hike. And our plan was to do the hot springs, do our hike, and then when we came back into town, we were just going to get a few last minute things and then head up towards the Dalton Highway and make that journey. And we've been chatting with a few people and just looking at the weather and the road conditions, and it's just been atrocious.
Yep.
There's lots of rain, snow in the forecast. It's passable, it's doable, but the roads are bad. And so we just kind of chatted a bit and just kind of considering, you know, we're like, do we do this drive? And we've already done the Dempster Highway and we know what that's like. Do we want to, you know, take that time, spend the money on gas, and then, you know, have rain the whole time and be in the van the whole time and not see everything? So we want to see the Brooks Range, you know, the whole drive, the tundra, like all the way up to Prudhoe Bay, and it would just be such a shame. And it is that, like, that what if kind of thing. But it's really going to rain this whole time. So we said, you know what, let's put that journey on hold. Yeah. And let's continue on to explore Alaska a bit more. So we're currently outside of Denali National Park, and we're going to go explore Denali for a couple days and then take on the rest of Alaska. So we're just excited to continue on. You know, it does kind of suck when your plans change, especially when it's one of those challenging routes, but at the end of the day, I think this was the best decision.
It really goes to show how dense, how tall these shrubs are, because they look relatively low, but we're looking at a full-grown moose grazing in the grass, and we can only see the top of its back. Yeah, he's just enjoying his dinner.
Are there any other ones out?
Oh, I really wish I had a telephoto lens. I just see a row of nice, expensive telephoto lenses coming out of that bus right there.
Maybe we drove through.
See all the nails?
Yeah. We were camped just outside of a little town called Healy, Alaska, and last night we camped beside the Stampede Trail. This trail goes right into the heart of Denali National Park. It's actually technically not part of the national park. There's a big cut out of the park if you look on a map, but this is a significant spot. Lots of hunters come here, lots of campers come and hike these trails every year. It was also a very compelling spot for a man by the name of Chris McCandles. Over 30 years ago, he actually hiked out there and lived in a bus for several months here in the interior Alaska wilderness, lived off the land. It was a really amazing story. He actually donated all of his money, finished school, gave away everything, and traveled America for several years. His story has definitely touched a lot of people across the globe, and including myself. It's a really compelling story. I feel like a lot of people resonate with his just desire to be out in the wilderness and experience the world. And sadly, he actually met his demise while living out in an old military bus, the Fairbanks 142. The story was made into a book by John Krakauer and then eventually into a movie. And although his story was not necessarily welcomed by fellow Alaskans, it's touched a lot of people across the world. And it's really cool just to be here in this spot. And it's the very beginning of the Stampede Trail. I believe it was about a 4-day walk to actually get to the bus that Chris was living in, but they actually took it out in 2020 because too many people were going in unprepared and, needing search and rescue. Some actually passed away trying to get to this spot, so it was too much of a liability for the Alaska government. They took it out, and it's currently being renovated in Fairbanks, which is where we were the last few days, but it's currently not being showed at the Fairbanks Museum, so we didn't get to see it. But regardless, it's still really cool to be here just in Alaska in general. We did have plans to go up and do the Dalton Highway, but our plans have done a 180 and we're heading south instead now. So we are packing up for the morning. We're gonna head into Denali National Park and go explore a little bit. I thought maybe this was the actual real bus, but it's a replica. Apparently it's the one they used in the movie Into the Wild. So Chris may not have been in here, but Emil Hirsch, I think is his name, the actor that played Chris in that movie, he was in here filming, so that's kind of cool too. I'm having a hard time trying to explain why a bus is so significant. It's just a really cool story of somebody who wanted an alternate lifestyle, and I think the part that people resonate with Chris so much is he did the whole nomadic lifestyle far before Instagram and YouTube and before it was cool to do it. Just stumbled upon this hidden treasure right off the highway, so I guess it's not very hidden, but all we see is a dome-shaped building.
Well, it looks like an igloo.
It looks like an igloo,
old
yeah.
Gas station.
And there's two crows just perched up on the very top, just looking very sinister. something evil is happening here, or has happened here. Looks like it's private property, so fortunately we can't go in and check it out, but we can look from afar and just wonder. Now, besides this being the location of one of Alaska's gnarliest bear attacks, there's actually nothing overly evil about the location. Igloo City in Cantwell, Alaska, originally was intended to one day serve as a hotel. The Igloo was a failed dream project for a man by the name of Leon Smith. It was supposed to have its grand opening in 1973, but that day never came after failed fire code inspections, running out of money, and finally poor health, leading the structure to sit for the last 50 years. It now sits in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, unfortunately now for people to relieve themselves or even set off fireworks and nearly burn the place down. Up until last year, it seemed the building would slowly just rot away. The plan now is to turn the location into a distillery. With a little elbow grease and the right amount of money for repairs, the area could one day be a popular refuge for a bunch of thirsty travelers. Now, although not the original vision that Mr. Smith had years ago, it would be nice to see the almost failure turn into something for people to enjoy. At this point in our trip, we had both felt as if we hadn't really achieved the scale of adventuring that we wanted to in Alaska. Looking back on it now, this is where the journey really started to ramp up, and we started to uncover the grandeur of Alaska. The drive through Hatcher Pass was certainly a highlight, offering incredible scenery with a rich history. Named after the early prospector and explorer William Hatcher, who discovered gold in the area in the early 1900s, the pass became a hub for mining activities, particularly gold mining, which shaped the area's development. Sitting at 4,000 feet, the mine is surrounded by rocky, sawtooth peaks and alpine tundra. A prime example that if there's gold in the area, they'll build a mine almost anywhere. Although the area is subject to inclement weather and prone to earthquakes, we still agree it'd be one incredible place to live. We are doing Lower Reed Lakes Trail. Apparently there's a bouldery section that may be a little stressful for Diesel, so it's not overly long. There is a bit of incline, so we'll see how he does with the decline later on when we come back down.
Ready for some mango? Come on. Morning mango. Getting ready for a big hike today. Yeah.
Like, take a couple stops and hit.
We are in the boulder section right now, and it's kind of fun, kind of different than what we've had lately. So we're just gonna go through like the pass where there's more boulders, and then apparently we're gonna get into some mud, so we'll see.
This is why it takes way longer than All Trail says, is because you stop every 2 seconds.
Right? And then you go off trail for blueberries.
Exactly. Attaboy. Woohoo! Attaboy. Nice job, bud. You little athlete. Nice. You got it, buddy.
Show me that rock, it's tripping me out.
The one that looks like it should be not there?
Yeah, it's like doing yoga there or something.
Yeah. What pose would that be?
I don't know. Rock.
Rock pose?
Balance looks
There's
so
no
balanced.
business being there right now.
Yeah. That's probably coming in everywhere.
Well, we've reached the boulder garden, and the boulders have gotten significantly bigger. So Diesel was struggling a little bit. He was making it up just fine, but he was getting a little too stressed out, so which in turn stresses us out. This whole walk up's been awesome. We're just in this valley, mountains surrounding us. Can't really complain. We're walking along the river right now. There's a little lake around the corner, but it just seems the further we hike, the bigger these boulders are getting, and it's just it's not worth it. There's some drops once we hop from rock to rock, and we just don't want anything to happen to the pup. So yeah, we're gonna turn around. We've also got some not choice weather coming towards us, so I actually can't see the mountains or the way we just came from, so we're probably picking a good time to head back anyways. Yeah, check out how foggy this is now. That's all mountains in there. And within the last 10 minutes or so, it's just totally socked in. Wow, these are huge. I have found the absolute honey hole of blueberries right now. So we're filling our cups, make some pancakes later, or just eat them by themselves because they're delicious.
Really cool. Yeah, I think I have all the things.
Well, I think the time has come to grab the long johns out of the tote here. Got a lot of our winter gear in this one tote. I need the base layer. And for sleeping, I think I'm gonna get the track pants out. We'll sleep better tonight. During the days, actually still quite nice. It gets a little chilly, but at night it's definitely dropping down. We can see our breath in the morning. Now we're talking. Did you find your old jacket? Attaboy. There you go. Nice and warm. Nice and warm.
Blueberry pancakes. Wild blueberry pancakes.
Yeah, that's the key. Wild blueberries.
They're so good. Way better than the store.
Practice makes perfect. Well, this morning was a head in a bucket shower style morning, and it's calling for sunshine all day, but we woke up to rain. But it's looking like it's trying to peek through the clouds. So 20 minutes or so, we have to be at, I think it's called the Anson-Anderson Tunnel, to get through into Whittier. Every hour they let cars through. So cars can go through on one half hour, and then the other half hour the train goes through. So they're both have their time slots to go through the tunnel. There's only one way in, one way out from this small town here. And looks pretty cool. This whole drive is just they're all nice, really. I don't even know how to explain it anymore. So got a time limit, so we're gonna drive over there. We're pretty close, so we'll see you in Whittier. got the golden ticket, $13 to get through the tunnel. The lady at the stand said about 5 to 8 minutes to go through this tunnel, so this is just a absolute marvel of a construction task to put a tunnel through an entire mountain. Pretty amazing to think that we drove through a mountain. It's not every day you get to drive through a mountain. By a wall of wind as soon as you come up over the pass. Woo! Wow. Oh, this is wild. Way to see a new town and check out its glaciers and its mountains. Got the endorphins flowing, we're feeling good, and you can't beat this view.
There's so many lakes and glaciers here. There's gotta be an easy one. I don't mean to be disgusting, but she and her dad.
So that old abandoned looking building right there, right here in the middle of Whittier, Alaska, is the Buckner Building. It was a military housing unit. So for all the workers, the military, the families, everyone would kind of live and operate in this one building. Exactly how they're doing it today, because the town itself, if you've noticed, is surrounded by either ocean or mountains and glaciers. There's only so much real estate in the area. And so they had to be housed in one particular spot. And just the way they built it, they actually built the Buckner Building in 7 different pieces, and that's because the likelihood of earthquakes around here is very prevalent. So actually in the early 60s there was a 9.2 magnitude earthquake here along the coast. That is a very significant earthquake that probably would have crumbled most towns, and it's actually still standing even though it's apparently full of asbestos and the windows are all broken. It's definitely been abandoned for a long time. The town of Whittier actually operates the exact same way. So the building up the road is where most of the residents will reside. So they'll stay there, they'll work here in the town. It's actually pretty crazy. The old building actually had everything you would need, kind of like a small city, all in one building. Over 1,000 residents would live in this one spot. They had a barber shop, they had a post office, they had a theater in there, even a jail in this building for all those bad folks that wanted to reside here in Whittier. But I find it pretty fascinating. They still have just left it there. It's a big piece of history, and it's obviously withstood the test of time, and of course that's why they've built the new residence the exact same way. So pretty freaking cool. Awesome little town. Had a really good time exploring Whittier today. We're actually just about to get back onto the road, go through the tunnel and back to Bear Valley is where we camped last night. So we'll see what our options are and camp out for the night.
morning in Portage, we headed to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Area, where we got to see a lot of wildlife that we maybe wouldn't see on a normal day exploring here in Alaska. These animals were all rescued at a very young age, and they all had different stories. The moose, the grizzly bears, the black bears, the wolves, the foxes, the porcupines, the muskox. They, some of them were separated from their mom at a young age. Some had porcupine quills in their paws and were then separated from their mom. And just so many interesting stories, but they all got separated from their mom, and when that happens, the animals can't learn the ways of finding food and shelter, and they're all in their own natural habitat, so it was really interesting to see the dynamics that they had set up there. We are currently en route to Valdez. We are in Glacier View at this awesome spot along the river, and enjoying the sunshine, blue sky, couple clouds. It rained like a tiny bit today, but it's been stellar. We have a campfire going. I could stay here for a few days. We have a beautiful fall day. We are on the summit of Lionhead Hike and overlooking the Madanuska Glacier. It was really steep coming up and muddy, but worth it.
Yeah, I think
it was fun.
We might be sliding down on our bums for
Yeah,
this one.
it was a lot of fun. I think this has been one of my favorite hikes ever, but the views are just, epic. Just a massive glacier and just snowy peaks all in the background. It's so nice.
Points almost in every hike where you're like, okay, why am I even doing this? But like we were saying, that was probably the best.
That's so awesome.
That was a highlight. That was a highlight on the whole trip, not just Alaska, but in general. And I think with the fall colors coming in too, they're really getting vibrant. And this really has just become the chase the sunshine Alaskan adventure.
Yeah, we definitely have to get out on a hike on nice days like this.
Yeah.
Because any other rainy day, it's gonna be super muddy and slippery and you won't see a whole lot. Obviously we like to see the view when we get to the top.
For sure.
Makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
So this was a great day to go for a hike and hang out and just enjoy what Alaska has to offer.
Totally. We got the liver banana salmon special coming right up. There you go.
No, he's like, I feel like he has his moments, but he's not. But he's like, he's more protected.
We're stopping again. I'm not entirely sure what the name of this glacier is, but it's, even from the road, it's quite massive. And we just keep stopping along the Richardson Highway because there's a glacier or there's more mountains or just more scenery that needs to get shot. So Alaska is wild. These views just keep getting better and better. stop number 702. There's waterfalls everywhere. This whole drive in, once you go over Thompson Pass, it's a wonder that there's not more car crashes on this road. I don't know how you pay attention to the road coming down this way. It's just incredible.
What? Pretty epic.
Being here in Alaska, it's still a very surreal feeling. Every day, regardless of weather, I know we talk about weather and, you know, it's been a rainy summer, but it's been a real treat to be here. We came down from Thompson's Pass earlier down into what I believe is called Waterfall Alley, and I can totally tell where that name came from because it is some eye candy. You're just looking from left to right. It's hard to keep your eyes on the road, I'll tell you that much. It's something you need to witness with your own eyes one of these days if you ever get the opportunity. And I hope we can capture it in a way that is inspiring to people. If you're still there and you're still watching, we really appreciate it. It means a lot that we get to do this and, you know, create these videos. And at the end of the day, 30 years down the road, we have these amazing home videos that we've created, and it's us living, you know, some of the best times in our life.
We are in Valdez. We made it. It's a nice day, and we are currently parked in the hatchery looking at some sea lions, literally right from the parking lot. Like we can see them right now. Mm-hmm. And there's just a ton of things.
These salmon are literally swimming into their mouths. Like they just have to sit there and eat as much fish as they possibly could ever want.
If you are someone who likes sushi and has ever experienced like all you can eat sushi, and you know that feeling you get when you're like, oh my God.
I don't know what it is. Every like big animal, dopey animal just reminds us of Diesel. Mm-hmm. Watch your step. Well, it's times like these I'm really glad I don't have a sense of smell. So many dead fish along this beach here. This is incredible. That guy is stuffed. That one in the middle, just sleeping, sitting up. Whoa! This guy's not messing around. Come on!
She's been eating fish non-stop, and what the bears like to do actually is look for female fish because they have the fish eggs in them, which is more for them to eat. So you're kind of watching her. I was even looking through the binoculars, and she's just kind of like walking through the water and like picking them up and being like, nah, I don't want that one. And then she'll find one she likes and then eats it, and then she continues on. It's fun.
We're about to embark on a really cool paddle. I'm really excited for this one. We've done some really cool paddles so far this summer, but I think this one's gonna take the cake here. Also, we got a really hot tip that there are some showers in town, and we will be taking full advantage of those today. Attaboy. We're doing it. Buckle up for safety.
It's definitely a little bit cooler over here, but the rain's held off for us so we could get out this morning and paddle here, which has been really nice.
Where we're paddling now was once covered in a thick sheet of ice known as the Dease Glacier. The glacier is around 40 kilometers long and flows from the nearby Chugach mountain range. As the ice retreats, it carves out a long valley between the surrounding mountains that we now get the incredible chance to paddle through. Unfortunately, no drone flying today. Would be really cool, but the airport is right over that mountain, and I know they do glacier tours in this area here, so just the magnitude of some of these pieces of ice that have kind of come off the glacier, pretty wild to see. Makes you feel really small paddling next to these behemoths. Yeah, we're checking another one off the bucket list today. Saw the glaciers from the sky a few weeks ago, and now we get to get right up close and personal with one. There's one right up there. Helicopter. I guess that's exactly why you can't fly drones in here. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why we can't fly drones. Cold. Go back, get warm.
Not really sure where that is.
We're heading up from Dease now, so we have to essentially backtrack, and then we're going to cut in towards McCarthy. That is going to be our next and last leg of the Alaska adventure. After McCarthy, we are heading north again up to Dawson City, because the top of the world highway is a highway we have not done before, and it closes anytime from now until mid-September. So if weather decides to blow in and they feel like closing it, they will close it, and then it's closed for the season. So if that's the case, we'd have to go south again and then come back up through Whitehorse. But we've been checking in and it still says September 15th. So we should have lots of time. But yes, we're gonna head up towards Chitna, probably camp out around there because that will be our hub. And then tomorrow morning we can start our supposedly bumpy ride into McCarthy. regardless of us being pretty socked in right now, there's a pretty cool little trail slash road. So we're almost at the top of Thompson's Pass. Not really being able to see too much. It's still pretty amazing. McCarthy was established during the early 1900s as a supply center for workers and families associated with the Kennecott copper mine.
Watch out for loose railroad spikes.
The Kennecott mine was a major player in Alaska's industrial history. The mine produced significant amounts of copper between 1911 and 1938. And during this period, the town of McCarthy grew as workers moved in to support the mine's operations. The Copper River and Northwestern Railway provided a vital transportation route for copper and supplies, and helping McCarthy thrive as a bustling mining hub. So there's a railway that goes from the little town of McCarthy all the way to the coast in the town of Cordova, Alaska. A lot of the railway track was put down in the bitter cold of winter months because copper mining was so high at the time that they just couldn't risk waiting until summer months. So weather is cold, sometimes is negative 55 degrees Celsius. That's negative 67 degrees Fahrenheit. And so when they were putting all this lumber down and building with it, it would crack and split. And because the ground was frozen solid, they had to essentially blast the nails and the anchors into the frozen ground. Just a marvel to look at. Right now, we're just going over the Gillahina River, and this train bridge is quite high. So seeing how something like that could be constructed in that type of weather is, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, you can walk right up under the bridge, I guess using your own caution because it's pretty dilapidated. It looks like it's coming down at any moment. It hasn't been in operation for what looks like a long time, but you can definitely see there's a lot of history in the area. Pretty much every road, every railway, everything is built around making money. When there's gold to be found, when there's copper to be found, any way to make jobs for people, they will build it. And just looking at the information behind, how fast they built these areas, this bridge, this one stretch from the last bridge that we were at to here, it only took them 17 days. It's really crazy to think of how fast they built this in such a short amount of time, just so they could get to, the iron ore and the copper, so they can mine these minerals and, make the money. We got a sunset, we got some supper, and we got some Office to watch while we eat our supper. Because why not?
Just tell him off right to his face over the phone. That's respect.
You did it, man. Day one. Congrats.
Dease Yellows. Wow. There's a cliff there.
Close to the edge there.
Track left here from the railroad. There's somewhere around 150 to 200 residents, and I believe 30 to 40 stay annually. You can see the Kennecott mine site over in the distance there. But so far, just a gorgeous walk. I'm kind of glad we get to hike. It's really not that far. Now there is a shuttle that could take us to the Kennecott mine site. It's about 4 or 5 miles, but we'll see if the shuttle allows dogs. If not, I guess we're not going, but we still get to check out the town of McCarthy, which is what we're here for. See how much we can cram in within the next few hours.
January, up before dawn, down to the Knox mine we've been digging on. No other light but the lamp on my head, and my mama told me that I wound up dead, but there's bills to pay, and the rent's due today, so I'll take my chances this time. Breaking my back, $5 a day, and the company stores get half anyway. While Mr. Cold Baron sits up on a hill in a gold-plated mansion with pockets to fill, and we're underground, 100 feet down, and it feels like we're digging our grave. Don't go down the mines, heed the words that I tell you.
At its peak, the town of McCarthy had a population of about 1,500 people, including the miners, railroad workers, and their families. The community had all the essential services, such as stores, schools, and entertainment to support the population. Now, laying eyes on the town, it had really felt as if we'd stepped back in time. By the late 1930s, the copper reserves in the Kennecott mine were nearly exhausted, and the mine shut down in 1938. This marked the beginning of the decline of McCarthy as a mining town. The town's population rapidly decreased and many buildings were abandoned. The railroad was then dismantled in the 1950s, and McCarthy became a near ghost town. Back in the house, and we are making our way out of McCarthy. It was a short but sweet trip. Sort of a little bit disappointed because, kind of like a lot of the places we visit, we see the other possibilities and places that we can go and adventure and explore, but we have the time to do it, but also we don't at the same time, because we have it in our minds that we want to get back to the Yukon. The Yukon is calling for us, and we have to go back. We're trying to get up to Dawson City within the next probably couple days. Yeah, it's about 9 hours from here. But we've built ourselves up for that mission, and we're ready to just tackle it. This whole Alaska trip is sort of felt like a scouting mission, because we loosely plan our trips. We don't necessarily have itineraries or do a whole lot of research of like things to do and what to see, because we want to go in with fresh minds, not expecting anything. And I found that in the past that has come with the best surprises, the best towns and things that we're just not expecting, right?
Yeah, just good experiences.
And have made the best memories and experiences. So It's been a scouting mission, and we know we're coming back. There's so much land to see. You're not going to see it in a month, even in the summer. Alaska's huge, and even once you've tackled all the roads, you've only seen the tip of the iceberg of Alaska. There's so much. And even all the time we spent in the Yukon, it's the same thing. We still have so much left to see. And weather is our time limiter, essentially. Top of the World Highway is going to close within the next few days or so. As soon as that cold weather comes in, they shut it down. So we've got to make sure we're there. We can get across into Canada to Dawson City. So we're feeling motivated. We feel good with what we got to accomplish and see here in Alaska, and it's been just an amazing time. It's time to hit the road. We're going to make our way up the McCarthy Road. We got a bumpy 2 hours before we get back to the highway, so here we go. Now, we don't like to travel with an itinerary or deadlines, but we had based the timing of a few of our trips so we could make it to the top of the World Highway before its close in mid-September. We'd make it back into Canada at the remote border crossing and make the 200-kilometer trek to Dawson City through the alpine tundra in peak fall season. The highway was originally built as a route for those traveling during the Klondike Gold Rush, when thousands of prospectors made their way to the Yukon in search of gold. The road follows an old trail system used by the miners and early settlers heading into the rugged wilderness. See where a road like this would get its name. Winding its way through the dense forest up into the alpine tundra, the top of the World Highway remains a testament to the ruggedness of the northern frontier.
Why do the Dalton Highway when you can hit up the Dempster again?
This is a special place because one of the greatest trips we've still been on to this date. And yeah, just an incredible journey. 900 kilometers from here to the Arctic Ocean. This is the only road that goes all the way to the ocean, and we didn't do the Dalton this year, but that's okay because we got to do this trip 2 years ago. And yeah, just still very special place. We're not doing the whole trip, although we still recommend, if you ever get out this way, you have to do the whole trip.
And you can check out our trip to Tuktoyaktuk, the Arctic Ocean, in our previous videos when we traveled with our SUV. So
yeah,
this time around we're in Walt, our Chevy Express. The fall foliage right now is just so beautiful, and so we're really excited to hit up the Dempster again. And
here we go. Being back at the Dempster sign offered a huge nostalgia kick for us. When starting the Dempster last time, it's funny to think back on how nervous we were to take this drive in our little SUV. All the horror stories we had heard leading up to the trip, only to realize in the end it was nothing really to fret about as long as you're prepared. kind of a metaphor for life in general. Don't let people or stories stop you from doing things just because of fear. Only about 60 kilometers in on the Dempster Highway. We're right off the main highway. There's a little rest area, but as you can imagine, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of traffic here tonight because we are sort of in the middle of nowhere. It's a little bit of a mud pit, but we've kind of found a little spot that we shouldn't be stepping into puddles in the morning. So lots of exploring to do tomorrow. Happy to be back in Tombstone and on the Dempster Highway. Can't wait to explore a little more tomorrow.
Just starting this hike and looking down towards the Dempster Highway, and it's just this massive golden valley. It's kind of like Saskatchewan vibes, but with mountains and a little more red. Looks like there's a storm coming in. But we're still chasing that sunshine.
Till the bitter end. Well, we just pulled into camp, and I don't know why I'm whistling because they're so far away, but we have found 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 7. I believe they're wild horses. I'm not entirely sure, but we kind of tucked about half a kilometer off the Dempster Highway, and I spotted these things. It looked like a sign at first, and then I looked closer, and there's a few brown ones, one more white, and then 2 black ones I see. From a nice, good, safe distance, I think I'm gonna get the drone up and just get a closer look. I'll zoom in a little bit and see what they're doing over there. Out on our after dinner Dempster walk.
This is nice.
We got our hot chocolates poured.
The road's really quiet right now, so you literally feel like you're the only ones here.
You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, even though there's a road running right through this area. But
even though we're somewhere.
We're
on the map.
Well, we found a really sweet little spot along the Blackstone River, and our horse friends decided to carry on a little further down the river, not because we were being loud or anything like that, but I think they just wanted their own space, potentially.
Yeah,
don't
we'll
know.
have to see if we see them in the morning.
Yeah, I hope they stop by for breakfast at least. But yeah, pretty cool to be walking down a main highway in the Arctic. We're gonna take a little stroll up the road, see what we see, but we will see you guys in the morning. I gotta say, there is a part of me, I do wish we were making the trip all the way to Tuck, but there is also the other part of me that's a little more logical and it's just not the time to do it this time around. So it feels silly because we're all the way out here and we could just keep going, but we've got bigger fish to fry, and we've got some people to meet up with back a little further south, and we're gonna tackle another highway with them. So really looking forward to that. Now, if we weren't doing that highway, we would definitely continue on and try and make it to Tuck again, but excited for this next one. The Canol Road stretches 230 kilometers from Ross River all the way up to McMillan Pass in the Northwest Territories. This road was built for the sole purpose of hauling oil from Norman Wells in the Northwest Territories and supplying oil to the south during the Second World War. The oil pipeline would pump thousands of gallons of oil to Whitehorse before being abandoned only a year later when the war had ended. The northern stretch that we'd hoped to travel over the next few days would be 200 kilometers of slow-going and minimally maintained road. The task in itself freaked us out a little bit, but we had more excitement than anything. And if this road trip was a video game, this road would be the final boss on our northern expeditions. It would be a bit of a challenge in a completely stock Chevy Express van that we also called our home. But we're glad we were able to take on this stretch with new friends who would be with us the entire way. About 50 kilometers in now, and it's no joke. Very narrow in most sections, very hilly. You can see a lot of spots have been washed out at points. We're pretty dry today because we got this nice sunny day to start the drive, but there is parts of the road on rainy days you can tell like just rivers have cut through them. Like it's pretty washed out in areas. We have about 30 psi in the front, 35 in the back, and I'm only riding on mud and snow tires, so I was a little skeptical on that at first, but it's been a dream. With the amount of potholes, this road definitely would have just been unbearable with full PSI in the front and back. So we're gonna make our way another 30-ish kilometers or so to Dragon Lake, and we're gonna set up camp.
So we just came around a corner, and Alex and Meg are pulled up just ahead of this massive puddle here, and we just got word that it's quite deep. So, here we go.
I heard a huge crunch, but
I was like, oh, he's got a little too much juice on that because it went down in the puddle.
That's fine.
that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, there was a bit of a bump there that we didn't warn you about. Sorry about that.
I think that might be the old culvert.
It's nothing like the Dempster. The sign wasn't lying. About 30 kilometers an hour.
Yeah. We hit the front pretty hard at one point. When we stopped at the other side of the puddle, the whole front license plate was flipped upwards, so everything seems to be okay, but yeah, a little bit of excitement. I'm still vibrating a little bit. However, I'm okay if there's not too many more of those puddles up the road. So yeah, if we weren't with Alex and Meg, that may have been a turnaround part for us. Just in case we got stuck, it's really not worth getting stuck by yourself somewhere out here. This is not a maintained road. It doesn't see a whole lot of traffic. It's later in the season now, and there's no services. So thankfully I have Starlink, so if we ever did get into an emergency by ourselves, we always have that lifeline. So yeah, if you're gonna do this road, I wouldn't argue against using the buddy system like we are. We'd pretty much got to camp that night and laid low, feeling pretty exhausted from the day's stretch of road, which took up a lot of our mental capacity. It's a fun but very demanding road, which leaves your nerves feeling pretty shot. Mainly due to the nervousness brought on by beating up your home on wheels and being way out in the middle of nowhere. Now, although that's the appeal of coming out to a place like this, it can't help but still weigh on the back of your mind. We are going to try and get a little bit of an earlier start this morning. We would like to get to a nice spot tonight and actually enjoy the camp, have a fire probably. Just because we got to camp last night right as the sun was going down, then we kind of just went to bed. And this lake, this little bay that we're camped out on right now, is actually just a small, tiny little piece of it. Once you go through that channel over there, it just opens up. And it's just this long, narrow lake through the land. It's pretty amazing. But today's main objective is to get some driving done, because yesterday it took us about 4 hours to get just over 100 kilometers. So you don't get anywhere fast around here. Lots of potholes, lots of divots, lots of washouts. So we do just have to be careful as much as we can. And yeah, we're gonna cover some more ground.
But yeah, it's just kind of like a slow and steady thing, and just being quick with your reaction time, because there's just so many potholes and like divots in the road and puddles, and you don't know how deep they are. But it's a challenge, and it's good for us to do because we want to do more of this. And sometimes you have to take those roads less traveled, the rougher roads, and a little bit of the unknown to get to beautiful places. So we just like to test the limits.
And test the limits we are. To ever tag that full-on hole in the road. We just stopped at some of the abandoned cars that have been sitting here for the last 60, 70 years. So there is an actual military vehicle graveyard up the road a little bit closer to the border, but these are just some other ones that we've stumbled across. We just passed the mile marker just up the road, letting us know that we still have 95 kilometers until we hit the Northwest Territories border, and that is our main destination. That is where we want to get to. Once we get to the border, I feel like we've completed our travels. It's been slow going. It started off pretty good in the morning, but we've kind of came to a crawl in some sections. Lots of steep hills that lead right into potholes. There was a good sized crater in the ground. There's an actual hole on the left side of the road, but as long as you take it slow, keep your eyes peeled on the road, and heat up some water and pour ourselves some tea. Keep ourselves caffeinated for what's next.
Hydrated.
And hydrated. That's the main thing. I feel like I didn't have any water today, so we did meet some people a little further back, and they were just coming from McMillan Pass, and they got some snow last night, so that should be fun. What do we have here?
Just a little bit of meat and cheese, some crackers, and
a little charcuterie for the trail.
Just a little bit. I'm gonna put my socks on since it's snowing.
Oh shit, I don't even know which way to go here. Ditch on the right, giant rock on the left. Okay.
we're going to a spot about a kilometer past.
Okay, sounds good.
Sorry, guys. We took a rest day here with the pretty epic view of Mount Itzy off in the distance. It was necessary to spend some time basking in the brilliance that is northern Canada with these two, chatting for hours about life on the road and all the upcoming adventures we'd had planned.
I don't know if I've had a night this good for very long.
We took the day to camp out here and just enjoy it and take a little break from the drive, because it's not just about the drive and getting to the destination, it's about all the little stops along the way. And we're also with friends too, so it's really nice to kind of hang out and just enjoy each other's company. So today it is starting to rain just a little bit, so we're just kind of getting organized, and we're going to be heading on the road shortly. We have about 47 kilometers left to get to the Northwest Territories border, so the plan is to get there today.
We're glad we have friends to travel with, because just having that confidence of people to help us if we were to get in any sort of trouble, you have to think about those things coming out to a place like this, because we haven't seen many people. The weather can come in fast, and that can change the road. You can see coming in the past couple days all the different washouts that have happened over the years, because nobody's coming in here to maintain it, but it's important to kind of just sit down and just think of where we are in the world and just be appreciative of that. We're up in the Arctic. We're going to go see the Northwest Territories again for a second time. Just a small part of it. We're getting to the border, and that's pretty much the end of the road. And here we come, Northwest Territories. Northwest Territories, here we come. Over.
Roger, roger.
Everything is loud.
We've made it to the old military vehicle graveyard. Really cool location. Back in the early 40s, there was such a need for oil on land after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. They were taking oil from Norman Wells even further north, Northwest Territories, to the capital in Whitehorse. The oil had only been flowing for about a year, and then the following year, because the war had ended, there was no more need to have all of that oil flowing through this remote area. So they kind of just let all these trucks lay here to die. It just really wasn't worth hauling all of this stuff out at the time. Yeah, now it just lies here, resting for us to enjoy and look at. Pretty cool piece of history, really.
I can't even see over the wheel.
Hope you got your tetanus shot.
So there's a spot 2 kilometers still up this road, and it's fairly steep. Once we got over the Northwest Territories border, the road got pretty dodgy. A lot more deep craters and puddles and stuff like that. So got a few more kilometers, and just because of all the stop and go and stuff we've been doing on this trip, I'm already under half a tank. So thankfully Alex filled a couple small jerry cans, so we'll be able to get out of here, but hopefully we'll be able to get out of here. Now there's a bit of a rush you get when you come across the perfect campsite, and it's a bold statement, but I would call this place just that. No one for hundreds of kilometers in any direction, which can be a scary thought, but still something we chase while traveling. It's a high you're always trying to top, finding the next best place to park your home for a night. Made it through McMillan Pass. We made it to the Northwest Territories, which we're super stoked about. And to celebrate, we made one of our breakfast skillets for dinner. And Meg freaking baked for us. That is a special treat. It really is. If you've watched their videos before, Meg can cook up a storm. She bakes some of the best stuff. So I'm super excited to have some of that cake. I was debating just having some before we actually eat our dinner, but I think we'll be adults and wait till we finish our supper. But yeah, it feels cool to be back in the Northwest Territories. We are battling the rain again, so we haven't really been outside. We've got a whole bunch of firewood, and we are going to have a fire, but I think we're going to stay here tomorrow and hang out for the day, get a hike done. We are way up there, so it's going to be cold tonight, but we're still only halfway done. We still got to make our way back within the next few days. We're going to enjoy it while we're here and have our dinner and enjoy some of Meg's world-famous baking afterwards.
So we're still looking for those northern lights. The sky is clear as of right now, and it's saying on the forecast the KP is like a 3.67 and less cloud cover between now and 11 o'clock at night, so within the next couple of hours. So if we're going to see them, it may be very soon. Fingers crossed. We're gonna be up for a bit. We're eating super late, and hopefully we see them when we open that sliding door and get a little show.
You ready for a skillet?
We basically cooked all of the food that we have left. There's no more meat left, no more eggs. We have broccoli, Brussels sprouts, maple syrup, 1 beer.
Oh, we're set then.
I'm already looking forward to getting some groceries after this.
Hi. Show the way.
Yes. And there
Love
will
ya.
be cake tomorrow.
You're my hero. There they are. We found them.
I went outside to let Diesel out for a night recap, and it wasn't even like 11 o'clock at night. And then you could see the lights just dancing in the sky, so I kind of gathered everyone outside and we got to enjoy it together. And it was really, really cool to see it here. It was still a little bit cloudy, but we had some clear sections in the sky. And yeah, it was just pretty magical just to come all this way. Even though it was a little stressful and overwhelming at times, and just be like, oh, we're here. It's just cool to be here. I still feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, what an absolute treat to welcome us to the Northwest Territories. So now we just have the threat of snow. The next 3 days, snow is in the forecast, so it's really not a road we want to dabble with when it's covered in ice and snow. But love exploring here, the Yukon in this area. It's just something else. It's pretty special. Now, seeing as we'd snagged the perfect campsite, we'd originally intended on spending a few days here. But with the threat of heavy snow in the coming days, after a quick team meeting, we made the conscious decision to start making our way back. Well, the vans are fired up and defrosting. Unfortunately, we have to get out of here a little prematurely just because, as they say, winter is coming. The clouds are rolling in. The weather is coming over the next several days. So it's not something you want to dabble with, getting stuck out here with ice and snow. It is what it is, unfortunately. We got to the Northwest Territories. We tackled that goal of seeing the Aurora. So the trip is only halfway done, my friends. We have to get out of here, start covering some ground. Meeting new friends while traveling can be a little bittersweet. There's an instant bond formed through shared experiences, but also that underlying awareness that time is limited. We all share the same ideals, a love for travel and wanting to explore new places, but in most cases, we're heading in different directions, not knowing when the next chance to meet would be. However, the memories you create become one of the most cherished parts of your journey. We're wired but exhausted at the same time, and we're just hauling ass. We're just trying to get out of here now. But we have another 105 kilometers and my fuel range is at around 80 kilometers. So if I weren't to have that other small gas tank, probably wouldn't have made it. Yeah, it's been a day. We've been driving for the last several hours, and yeah, we're gonna get there. Definitely more confidence going back, I think, because we've made it there and completed, well, the first half of the trip. We just want to kind of get out of here. The weather's crap. It's supposed to be like this for the next several days, so it's just, yeah, we're having a great time. This is an adventure and a half.
It's been so much fun.
Yes, it really has,
Yeah.
and it's going to be one of those trips that I can tell afterwards we're gonna miss it. We're gonna talk about this for a long time, and yeah, really glad to be traveling along with Alex and Meg still. Canol Road, man. It is no joke. It's pretty funny how we were making a big deal of the Dempster Highway a few years ago. Man, that is a cakewalk compared to what we've been doing the last few days. There is actually no comparison, really. But Diesel's gonna finish his supper, and then hopefully there's not too much rumbling for the next 30 kilometers and he doesn't barf all over the place.
The all mileage we've ever done by
Okay, so because like when we were up there, I still had well over half, right?
Yeah. Well, this is by far the roughest road we've driven in Betty. I think it's just because you can accelerate, and then you have to lock up your brakes.
Well, it makes me feel good that you guys think that too. That it's just that bad. How you feeling, pal?
Like I want to be done this stupid road.
I gotta say, I really appreciate you not only having the gas, but filling the vehicle for me.
Oh, no problem there, son. Glad to be of help there.
Dad Alex at his best. And how are you doing?
Feeling pretty sorry for myself, to be honest. Like,
I feel like
I don't want to work tomorrow while we're driving and trying to do the rescue mission.
That, yeah.
Is there more?
There's more.
Pulling in a little late here tonight.
Better late than never.
What a day, what a day.
Oh, there's that sound.
Come on, Walt. Got like 15 kilometers left to go.
The guys have put in quite a driving shift today. Needless to say, we're all tired.
Good morning. Day 6 on the North Canol Road. Last 15 kilometers, we are going to be rolling into town running on fumes, but last little bit. Ferry should be in operation now, so we're gonna hopefully coast our last 15K into Ross River, fill up. And the sooner we do that, the sooner we can head towards Watson Lake and get some showers. Walt here, he's got a nice fresh clean dew here after our Canol trip. We're all clean and showered, we're gonna get fueled up and we're gonna hit the road. Now once you pass the BC-Yukon border, it's not uncommon to pass a couple of these guys along the side of the road. These wood bison, known as the Nordquist herd, were reintroduced into the Align Lake area east of Liard Hot Springs in '95. It was hoped that these bison would disperse to the north along the Liard River corridor to eventually connect with the Nahanni wood bison in the Northwest Territories. Instead, they dispersed westward and took up residence in the Alaska Highway corridor, where they'd find abundant grazing potential adjacent to the highway. Get off the road, buddy. Now, of course, being so close to a main road, this can be detrimental to the population, but still not nearly as detrimental as the overhunting that had occurred years earlier. Take care, guys. Bob, Bernadette, Bill, Beatrice. Day 1 on the Alaska Highway. Didn't make it overly far, stopped in at Liard Hot Springs, drove another 20 minutes or so, found ourselves a place to camp for the night. Pretty dark right now, but we're gonna show you a little bit more because it's super nice here where we're camping. I'll show you more of that in the morning. Diesel really likes it, if you can't tell. Right, buddy? We got groceries in Watson Lake, so now we're just totally stocked up and got all the luxuries that we were craving on the Canol Road.
Spent way too much money on gas and groceries.
Yeah, it was a very expensive day in Watson Lake yesterday, but it's the price you pay to be on the road. You got to do it. Got to pay for the gas, get you places, and you got to eat, of course. So, had some delicious wonton soup that Alannah made for us this evening, and we got some desserts and snacks and all the good stuff. But anyways, this camera's really heavy. Good night, guys. Let's eat some chocolate.
I'm really missing the warmer days and just like putting the stove outside and cooking. And I was gonna do that today, but here we are, just throwing sausage in a pan.
It's almost colder in the van than it is actually outside. So usually when we wake up, we'll get outside and go for a walk just to stretch the legs, try and warm up a bit. And we are going to be traveling in the van pretty much all through the winter, heading east to Ontario to see our families, and then from there we're going to go south throughout the state. So I have a feeling once we get back to Ontario, we're going to have to find some sort of heat source to install in the van, but that'll happen when the time comes. So far, we're not frozen. Today, along the Alaska Highway, we get to check out the Muncho Lake Provincial Park, and then that leads into the Northern Rocky Mountain Provincial Park. So this is one of my favorite stretches of road. Hopefully see some caribou today, and I think we're gonna stop and get a hike in at some point as well. We're out here looking for some sheep, and the trail is called Stone Sheep Trail. However, we were wondering, is it stones that look like sheep, or is there actually sheep on the trail? Pretty much every review on all trails said they didn't see any sheep, so who knows, maybe we'll be the lucky ones. And I gotta be honest, when you start a hike, whether it's a huge jaunt to the top, steep, long, whatever it is, it's kind of like the last thing you want to do. You know it's going to be good, you know it's good for you, but part of you is like, oh, I don't know if I want to subject myself to that right now. But at the end of the day, when you're all done, you're always glad you did it. Every time. There's not one time we finished a hike, no matter how grueling, where we were like, oh, I wish we didn't do that. I had a brownie from the gas station and I just feel so hopped up on sugar right now. Alannah's not feeling so good either. But this should do the trick. We're posted up by the river along the Alaska Highway, and enjoy this lovely campsite we've snagged here tonight. I'm sure we could both agree that after traveling several months in a van together, one of the most cherished moments that we now have is waking up somewhere new in the middle of nowhere and just enjoying our mornings. Like a lot of other people, we'd spent years getting up at the crack of dawn in a rush to get into our car, to get on the road and get ourselves to work. It's a bit of a weird transition, going from that rush of everyday life to significantly slowing things down. We'd still wake up early, soaking in as much of the day as we could, but making a coffee and taking a long walk and pondering on what we really wanted to accomplish for the day. We're getting a little work done in the van, and we've got a hailstorm. We're at about a pebble size right now. As soon as it turns into golf balls, we'll have to duck out of here real fast. It's hard not to think about the great deal of effort that goes into a task such as building a road like this. We're incredibly lucky to be able to travel this road and see parts of the country that would otherwise still be a vast expanse of deep mud and dense forest. Especially after just coming off the Canol Road, the Alcan is smooth as butter. And that terrain really flattened out really fast. As soon as we left Summit Lake Provincial Park, we kind of just went through some rolling hills and it just flattened out. So I think from what I remember, a lot of the rest of the trip is going to be like this. But that's how it goes. Canada is vast. There is so many different terrains, and they all have their own appeal and their own beauty to them. So still got lots of mountains to go through in the near future. But first and foremost, let's get some Tim Hortons.
Well, we've been all over the north, the Dempster, the Canol, but leave it to the Alaska Highway for the first chip in the windshield.
Final stretch of the Alaska Highway. We're just outside of Fort St. John, so we'll be in Dawson Creek within the next hour or so. And this is our last camp out with our friends. Alex and Meg, we've kind of been camping with them for the last 2 weeks or so. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun traveling with friends and just being on the road through some crazy highways, being up north on the Dempster, the Canol, and the Yukon. What a crazy adventure that was. I'm just gonna finish up the Alaska Highway today as we make it to mile 0 at Dawson Creek, and then we will continue our way southeast.
It's early this morning, so we're gonna just get on the road and get back into the Rocky Mountains. And I think that's kind of like where the love for doing this kind of began. What was that, 2021 we did like our first road trip out here, and it'll be nice to kind of go back to that because it's just a special place, I think, for us. And hopefully we can find a lake to put the canoe in the Rockies at some point, so that'll be fun too.
Yeah, lots of ground covered, but still plenty more to go. Well, there's horse poop everywhere, so that must mean if it's okay for horses, it's okay for humans to walk on here. So this road was essentially just plowed through some of the most dense terrain through BC, the Yukon, and Alaska. I mean, if you've ever been up here and seen this terrain, this bog, this muskeg, the dense pines, like just to plow through country like this would just be no easy feat. So the fact that a highway like this is just cut right through the northern wilderness, it's pretty incredible. The stretch we just did here is the old Alaska Highway, so a lot of the original Alaska Highway either been paved over or it's just not in use anymore, just like this bridge. You can do a little stretch over this bridge, but I'm guessing the structural integrity is just not there, so they've closed it off. They've put these cinder blocks at the front so you can't drive any further. But compared to nowadays, the road is smooth. Like, besides the trucks flinging, you know, rocks into your windshield and whatnot, it's smooth sailing pretty much the whole way, and just so incredible the terrain that you drive through, just how quick it changes, how vast it all is. And the Alaska Highway had been prospected for a long time, well before World War II had started. And there's even one account of a man coming through on dog sled, and it took over 6 months to make the stretch from the southern terminus to the northern terminus. Another count as well, 2 guys riding motorcycles through some of this terrain, which at the time would have been no more than just bog and mud. But really cool to see, such an amazing trip. Really glad we got to see the Alaska Highway again. We're just about to pull into Dawson Creek, which will mark mile 0 and the very beginning of the Alaska Highway. Really glad to be out here, checking out this part of the country again. Just really never gets old. I feel that most of us probably have a memory of crossing through the Rockies for the first time. Maybe you were too young to appreciate it, or maybe you were a grown adult with a few tears welling up in your eyes the first time you'd experienced them. No matter how many times we see the Icefields Parkway or Jasper, it feels just as special as the first time. You feel incredibly small in their presence, and the little things in life just don't seem to matter nearly as much. After our first visit, we'd been convinced to pack up and move to the west for good. I knew I had to find a way to see more of this country, and for more than just a couple weeks every year, but for extended periods of time to really soak it all in. And I think it's worth mentioning that there's no trust fund or mom and dad's credit card in our wallets. For a few years, we saved over half of our income and found ways to make a little bit of money while traveling. Now, we can always go back and make more money, but really our time here on this planet is never guaranteed.
We're soaking in as much mountain views as we can over the next few days, because as soon as we're out of Canmore, it's flat, smooth sailing. Pretty sure we turn the wheel 3 times until we get to Ontario. So, and the prairies are beautiful in their own regard, but yeah, soaking in all the mountain views that we can, and yeah, happy to be here.
So I'm back from a 5-day trip from Lake O'Hara, and although I was with 14 plus other people, I was in a hut, so I was actually able to stand and cook and had just a little more space when I'm sleeping. So the space was definitely nice, but my social battery is drained quite a bit, and physically I'm really tired too. I think mentally as well, like just from not even socializing, just the mental game with hiking and just climbing the mountains that I climbed. So today's been a nice kind of relaxed day, even though we went into the town of Banff, and although it's end of September, it's still quite busy. And now we're just kind of relaxing and having a nice campfire. I think I'm going to sleep like a baby. I'm really excited for that. Just kind of hang out and enjoy our last week really in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, before we head across Canada through the prairies and then back to Ontario to visit some friends and family. So I can't believe like how fast time has really gone. Like we've covered so much ground and we've been to a lot of places and done a lot of things, and now we're like here, and you know, we're only literally less than 40 hours from Ontario.
Ontario's a stone's throw away.
Yeah,
it feels so close.
We're so close. I'm happy to be back in my own bed with my peeps.
At a primal level, the mountains are a place where human civilization has not fully taken over. There's something deeply ingrained in the human psyche that responds to these wild, untamed places. In contrast, places like Banff and Jasper bring in over 400 million people each year, but it's hard to argue why people feel compelled to visit. It's a truly humbling experience. Nothing really makes you feel smaller in this crazy world than when surrounded by such grandeur.
Singing all night long. Who's gonna save you? Who's gonna make you not blue? Not blue.
After being in Canmore the night before, and now only a few hours away camped just outside of Drumheller, the scenery had changed substantially. This part of the country, the Alberta Badlands in particular, has one of the highest concentration of dinosaur bones discovered in the world, and they're still discovering them to this day. You look at the tops of these hills and it looks like the prairies, as if they just go on forever. Over millions of years, the creek systems have eaten away at the land and create these giant craters eroded into the ground. With the harsh and windy conditions making the area almost uninhabitable, the Lakota people had early on deemed this place as bad land. Early French explorers also felt the same way, as the area with its unsheltered landscape and deep gullies made it extremely difficult to travel across.
Every time you leave the Rocky Mountains, it is sad because you know you've got like 20 hours of flat driving. You pretty much have to turn your wheel like 3 times. The road is just that straight and that flat for such a long time.
Yeah. But we try and check things out differently just to kind of see what else is around here too, and just to switch it up from the flat driving straight, or just not taking the Trans-Canada Highway and just taking a different way.
There's definitely a lot more to see. Yeah, so we're taking a more northern route through the prairies. You look at the map of Canada too, and it's like the Trans-Canada is right at the very bottom, like almost America, and then there's still this much space in every province. So like there's just so much land and so much other things to see besides the Trans-Canada.
Just like that, we're on a different planet. This is probably what, if I had to imagine what Mars would look like, but not a bad little detour stopping in here at Dinosaur. It's actually the highest concentrated area of dinosaur bones in the world, and I guess what they have to do, they actually have to wait, because it's a World Heritage Site, they have to wait until the dinosaur bone is exposed, and then they can start excavating around it, but they can't actually chip away at the rock and the sediment until it's actually exposed. So wind and water does its work, and once bones are exposed, people can start digging away at it. And there's still so much that is just slowly eroding, so there's probably tons of other bones and dinosaurs just waiting to be found, which is it's really cool. Just a whole other world that happened here well before we got here. Pretty neat.
A rare Dieselsaurus out in the wild. He doesn't do much, grazes on grass and sleeps most of the day. What a marvel to look at.
This will be home for tonight. Put in a good chunk of driving today. We are in the town of Alsask. So we're technically in Saskatchewan right now, but close enough to Alberta that they liked to combine the two names. So
the GPS took us down some back roads and it got dark very quickly. So we think we saw a coyote and then a bunch of rabbits along the way. So we just kind of took our time. Because, it's getting dark really fast.
Yeah, and they love to run right in front of the van as we're going by. So a couple braking points along the dark, gravelly road, but we found camper tonight, and we went up this way instead of just going east on the Trans-Canada because we're going to do some paddling tomorrow, get the boat in the water. So who said the prairies can't be fun, right? But it's a very clear night and super dark, so I think the camera is going to go and start her overnight shift, and we are going to get to bed.
Well, it's not the Yukon River, but the South Saskatchewan River is a good start.
Oh. Well, this has become one giant birding expedition by the looks of it. We've got just probably thousands. Oh, there they go. Listen, you hear the sound they all make? There's so many birds. We're gonna get pooped on. Who said the prairies were boring, dude? Well, that's it. I think we're officially birders. But hundreds of Canada geese, hundreds of sandhill cranes, and we actually saw a lot of those sandhill cranes a few months ago up north in Alaska, and they're making their way south now. So I like to think it's the exact same birds we saw up north.
We're just a little bit behind.
But I think river paddling is really where it's at. It's definitely getting the curiosity going, getting our minds wandering. Especially being up in the Yukon, all the rivers, all the river systems, it's just endless. There's so many beautiful river systems to paddle.
This morning. Basically, that was the start of our Saskatchewan adventure. We headed to Outlook, Saskatchewan, and we got on the South Saskatchewan River and took a nice paddle up the Chief Whitecap Waterway, which was really cool. Took the current down so the river flows north. So we went down a little bit and then we decided to turn around, and that was a little bit of a workout. I was kind of exhausted by the end of that, to be honest. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to just get out on the water for a little bit, and in Saskatchewan of all places. So like we said before, it's, you know, not just a flat place. There's lots of things to do. I think you just need to be creative and kind of look for them because they are there. There's so much to explore here. And I was even reading earlier, there's sand dunes in Athabasca, which is like super north of Saskatchewan. So maybe one day we'll get up that way too and check it out. So that was a lot of fun. And then we just put in a little more driving. We essentially drove pretty much across Saskatchewan today. And now we're posted up at this little provincial historic site. It's free to camp here, and there's quite a few camp spots, and they're all beautifully groomed, all grass. Diesel and I just took a little walk around, and no one else is here. And we have a beautiful starry sky tonight. So we're just gonna hang out here for a little bit. Just made some dinner. And we're going to watch our show and then go to bed. Another day in Saskatchewan, the prairie's down. We're making some headway to Ontario.
Yeah, another province down.
Yeah.
We had the camera set up for some stars, and we looked outside and noticed there was some color in the sky. And all the time we spent up north in Alaska and the Yukon, and we got the best showing of the Northern Lights right here in Saskatchewan. And the KP scale is going to be up for the next few days, so there's a good chance we'll see them again tonight. And actually where we're camped out here is a historical site and a significant one for the Hudson Bay Trading Company. Had a post here, primarily sold bison meat to those traveling along the Carleton Trail, so from Manitoba to northern Saskatchewan. And super quiet, just because we're so far off from the Trans-Canada, a lot of people just aren't, you know, this isn't their regular route. Some trucks in the night, but for the most part it was really quiet. Had some owls going last night. We've heard the coyotes howling away the past couple nights. Really cool. We got another big driving day today. We're gonna try and make it to Winnipeg. And so if we were to do that from here, straight stretch to Winnipeg is gonna be about 6 hours. So putting in a shift.
Saskatchewan's been pretty great so far. We've been having so much fun just traveling through here and just doing some different things and taking different routes. And it's another beautiful day here. So it feels like still slow travel, even though we're kind of covering some ground, but it's all good.
Not eerie at all. Well, our journey through the prairies would just not be complete without checking out the Ghost Town Trail.
Specifically, Highway 13, which is also known as the Red Coat Trail. There's not a whole lot of information on these ghost towns, really, so it's kind of fun because you have to kind of like drive and look. So we just checked out one road and there's still people living in homes on that side. One abandoned building we saw. And then we were like, let's just cross the highway and go down this road. And now we're here. And this is pretty abandoned.
Yes, very dilapidated. And yeah, we're just exploring and seeing what we come across. But this is definitely abandoned from what we're seeing here. And this is, I believe, the town of Hume. I believe we're pronouncing that right. So we're going to get out and see what we see. Spend too much time under here. It looks like it collapsed at any moment, but it's definitely been here for a long time. I don't think we're going to try going upstairs today. The Red Coat Trail was named after the redcoats worn by the Northwest Mounted Police, who patrolled the route in the 1870s. The trail became a key part of Canada's colonization and settlement efforts, especially as the Canadian Pacific Railway was being constructed in the 1880s. Small towns had emerged along the route as the railroad expanded, but these small towns were established in areas that seemed promising at the time, but were ultimately unsustainable. Economic decline, agricultural challenges, and isolation ultimately led to the residents moving to the larger, more connected communities. Change my footwear up a little bit so I can go in some of the buildings and not have to worry as much. Don't think I really want a rusty nail in the bottom of the foot today. I believe there's upwards of 30 just really old towns along this one stretch. So we're gonna check out a few more today before we make our way into Manitoba. But really cool. I think we're gonna get back on the road because there's a few more on our route that we're gonna check out today. We're stepping our game up a little bit with an abandoned school, but I see a swing set here, so I think we're gonna have to try it out. Well, living on the West Coast for the last couple of years, we haven't really had to worry about ticks. But as we make our way east, it's becoming something more and more on my mind. Especially with this tall, long grass. It's a perfect breeding ground for a whole whack of the little buggers. Well, it's looking like most of the building is boarded up, all the windows and doors, and can't say I really blame them. Because if they didn't, and if there was a way in,
You know, a bunch of weirdos would try and make their way in there. Probably some would squat. Someone would want to film it for YouTube to see. We're kind of just stumbling upon these places and learning as we go, so.
Okay, let's go to Frode.
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 All right, here we come, Frode.
I don't know what it is, but an old creepy church. Just think about all like the horror movies that I've seen.
Hello? Well, that's freaky. Kind of apprehensive about walking in. Hello? The confessional booth?
I don't know, it's pretty small.
Yeah, the floor does feel pretty soft in places.
Don't think I'm gonna do it. Don't think I have it in me to go downstairs. I don't know how long it's been here, but I don't think it's any surprise that it's been here for a long time, and who knows what we're breathing in, so don't think I want to stick around too long and breathe whatever it is in the air, so yeah, this one takes the cake for the creepy factor, that's for sure. There's another staircase here. Hello? Holy sh**. Look, there's a snowmobile in here. No Polaris. That is old school. Oh, look at this. It's just like a really old stove. Wow. Anatomy books?
More weird in here. What is this?
I guess you kind of forget, like, people actually lived here and had a whole life, went to school, went to church, had friends, grew up. Pretty cool. Is that no radio? This stuff would have been of really good value at one point. It's just left here.
You think it's safe?
Probably not.
It's like a few flights of stairs.
I'm gonna say we should opt out of the stair climbing. Okay, get out of here.
Oh god.
Step. There we go. Perfectly good house lying over there.
Making it all the way to Ontario feels like an accomplishment at first, until you remember it's still another 20 plus hours to make it to the part of the province that we were heading to. We'd find ourselves back home for a few weeks enjoying the holidays with family, before getting back on the road and continuing our drive eastward to the Maritimes. This journey would end with one last big adventure on the Cabot Trail in Nova Scotia. However, we still had some ground to cover before getting to that point. Ontario. We spent the last few weeks just visiting family, and we are making our way to Nova Scotia.
We passed through Quebec, New Brunswick, and took the Confederation Bridge this morning to Prince Edward Island. So we're definitely getting the cooler, windier temperatures of the East Coast already, but the sun is shining today, and it's going to be a perfect day just to get out there and drive, walk around, and see what the island has to offer. So we're going to go take a little look around Charlottetown now and
go find some lobster and potatoes, I think. I think that's what we have to do while we're here. Windswept Point at the island's northern tip, otherwise known as North Cape, is where the Gulf of St. Lawrence meets the open waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The reef at North Cape stretches approximately 2 kilometers offshore, making it the longest natural rock reef in North America. The North Cape Lighthouse was built to warn sailors of this marine hazard, which was the site of many early shipwrecks. And at low tide, it's not uncommon to meet a few of the locals while visiting the reef. We're just about to pull up into small town, English town, and there's a very quick ferry we have to take. I believe it's only about 3 minutes to get across. And then we'll be on the very start of the trail. We'd made it here, starting all the way across the country on the west coast of Vancouver Island, then to the far reaches of Alaska, and now here on the very ends of the continent. The winter months were upon us, but that didn't stop us from taking on the Atlantic weather and the snowy roads that come along with it. This is good. Nice sound of the ocean beside us, and we actually have a sunset. How is that? First sunset in what, 3 weeks?
I think it's step 2's in order.
I think it's step 2's in order.
Just feels good to be back on the coast. I miss the west coast a lot. I miss Vancouver Island. And though traveling across Canada has been nothing short of amazing, I just love being on the coast. I love hearing the ocean waves and just like endless water and being near the mountains, just like in the elements. It's just so nice.
And we had a tiny friend greet us to our campsite for the night. I thought it was a mouse at first, and I was like, "Okay, we're getting out of here. No time for that."
It's like a long, skinny.
Yeah, it almost looks like a vole, maybe.
And it's all white, like albino.
It's all white, yeah. But it was being super curious, and we can keep being friends as long as it stays out from under the van.
The best part about winter camping is that your beer always stays cold, or it just gets colder.
Day one on the Cabot Trail. Didn't make it too far, only went up about 20 kilometers or so.
It's that time of year where it gets dark at about 4 in the afternoon. So yeah, we want to see as much as we can. We're going to use the daylight that we have and start fresh tomorrow morning and start exploring. But for now, I think we're going to enjoy this pretty awesome little camp spot that we found by the ocean. You know, Diesel's already enjoying it. He can never really tell when it's freshwater or saltwater, so his face is pretty hilarious when he finds out the hard way that it's saltwater.
It's frosty this morning. We woke up a little chilly, so we had to turn the van on just to warm up a bit. Made some coffee, bundled up, and now we're enjoying this beautiful sunrise. I feel like it's been a long time since we had a sunrise like this, let alone sun. Are you cold? Someone's a little cold, I think. Are your toes a little frosty?
I would be cold if I had to sit on an icy rock. Is your ass cold?
Not entirely sure how far we're going to make it up the trail today. And it's only a 300-kilometer loop, the Cabot Trail. So it's definitely something you could tackle in a couple days, but we're going to do it the slow and steady way. So yeah, as I look up the road, it's looking more and more mountainous. So really excited to see what's ahead. Putting your cold pants on in the morning.
I think we also went into bed last night, like at 6:30, and I fell asleep shortly after that. And
in bed for like
slept.
12 hours. Yeah. You got to capitalize on the daylight.
Yeah.
Because it's not here for very long.
Go to bed early, sleep, wake up before the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
Kyle got new jeans.
Apparently someone says it's not acceptable when there's a hole in the crotch and holes in the jeans, and I don't know. I think it's fine, but
Kyle's a one jean wonder.
yeah. If you've ever found yourself the perfect pair of jeans, that's it. You don't need another pair. They just become part of you. Hang on to your cups.
Oh, yeah,
The rocks are there. Duh. Hang on.
Well, how we always pour coffee and then do the road.
My favorite part is that we have closed lid cups that we can
Travel
use,
mug.
but that's just not as fun.
Spectacular! You can see Smoky over there. Pretty.
Well, just got back from warming the legs up a little bit. We got a couple hikes that we want to do while we're en route. This has just been a day of soaking in as much fresh air and daylight as we can, because it's
2:30 and the sun's already getting low in the sky, so we've got about another hour and a half. So we're gonna go find ourselves a spot to sleep for the night. And the best part about camping in December is we're pretty much the only ones there, so pretty much got the pick of the litter.
We're big fans of traveling during shoulder season, but this whole drive so far on the Cabot Trail, it's just been along the ocean.
Yeah.
It's been really, really nice.
Yeah.
And it's getting more mountainous now as we're traveling through the national park. So yeah, lots of places to camp, lots of hiking. Most businesses are kind of closed down for the winter season. We stopped at Bitsy Bean Cafe earlier for a nice warm sandwich.
I think it was the only business open in Ingonish.
Yeah, so we were
today.
able to charge our Bluetti, and then we also got water at the Ingonish Visitor Center too, which was like a blessing.
Yeah, most places we've been having a lot of trouble filling up our 20-liter just Bluey container, and yeah, they must have had a heated pump or spigot at the visitor center because the water came out and it was fairly warm. So usually this time of year every spout is shut off, so it's been hard finding water. But yeah, thanks to them we topped up everything, batteries and water, and
we got food.
We're good to go.
Drinks.
We got some fish in the cooler right now that
needs to be cooked. We're excited, so we're gonna go find camp for tonight.
Does that mean you like this spot, dude? Okay. It's okay. We can cuddle and draw. Just after 4 and the sun is gone. Man,
Gonna get cozy and stay warm.
We're right on the water again, which is lovely. Brings in a lot of wind and a lot of the chill. So for now it's nice and warm here in the van.
Yeah, I'm warm even now.
Yeah. We've invested in some external lighting for the van because it was overly dark in here. So if you really want to get the party started,
Right in September.
$80 well spent.
Tonight on the menu, we are having haddock with sweet potato, bell peppers, and onions.
And in all honesty, I thought it was going to be like really bland. So I just was like, I'm not going to bother filming cooking this, but it's actually really good.
That's why.
Save you some fish. Oh, excellent dishwashing.
Dark chocolate.
Wow. She's brisk this morning. Woke up to this nice light dusting of snow. Yeah, and the ocean is super calm right now. What a nice place. I still got lots of trail left. We're not even at the halfway point yet, so glad for the snow, but also glad it's not too much where it's gonna make the back road navigation a bit of a risk. So yeah, super nice. We're gonna make our way up the gravel road to Meat Cove, and that's gonna be the northernmost tip of Cape Breton Islands. I'm looking off in the distance to my left here, and there's some pretty gnarly looking snow storm clouds, so it's pretty calm and clear right now, but it may not be like that for the rest of the day. Look behind you right now.
Wow.
Mountains are gone.
This is also the general area in which it is said that the man that the trail is named after landed here on Cape Breton Island in the late 1400s. Now, it isn't known for sure where exactly John Cabot landed, whether it was Labrador, Newfoundland, or here on Cape Breton Island, but his voyage across the Atlantic is said to have helped establish Britain's claim to Canada and opened the way for further exploration of North America.
Well, in typical Way of the Roads fashion, we are getting ready to go. We got our coffees topped up, literally all the way to the rim, and now we're ready to take on this bumpy, icy, sandy road out of here.
It's okay, we got this perfected.
But the coffee's hot, so we're good. One end of the continent, all the way across the other side of the continent. But winter is here. It's cold. You feel like you're literally on the edge. We're having some chicken and vegetable wonton soup with beef broth and green onions just to warm up a little bit. We just drove from Dingwall all the way to Meat Cove and basically up and down the mountains the whole way. A little icy in some sections, a little bit of snow, some gravel, some pavement, a little bit of everything. So we took our time coming in. So we're just kind of hanging out, gonna have lunch, and then we were going to camp out this way, but it is calling for more snow and wind and very cold temperatures. So we'll probably be fine to stay out here, but we just don't want to get stuck in it because it is the East Coast and the weather can be unpredictable, so we're gonna kind of backtrack. We already scoped out a few camp spots along the way, and they're essentially right on the cliff, very exposed, wind. We thought about even having a campfire, but it just would be too windy and cold essentially, so.
And technically we know we're not on the actual edge of the continent. There's still a whole other province that sadly we don't get to see this time. Newfoundland is a trip all in itself and definitely deserves our time to go and explore all of it. So yeah, Newfoundland and Labrador, that's another one that just gets added to the list for next time. It doesn't matter where we go, we're always adding to the list and thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
Not that we're not enjoying and appreciating what we have right in front of us, but yeah, it's just there's always that strong desire to go and see what's beyond.
Yeah, it just inspires you to keep going.
Absolutely.
Right?
And when you run out of one continent, you can always just go to a couple other ones afterwards.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint. So originally what was us trying to get out of here before the cold and the snow turned into us not really having a choice. So we were right back where we were earlier having lunch. I had the GoPro rolling. There was a steep section that wasn't paved when we were coming in that as soon as I started going down, it was past the point of no return, but I was like, I just had a bad feeling about it. And so we started going up and
there's a bit of a curve at the very bottom of this hill, and so we lost a bit of momentum just because we stopped because there was somebody else right there at the bottom. So we started going up, and then I had it in the manual shifter, so I was kind of shifting along for if I just lost momentum, I could shift it when needed. But yeah, we were going up and then just slowly lost more and more momentum until the point where we weren't getting any further. And so I put my foot on the brake and we started rolling backwards. And it got to the point where we picked up enough speed where my brake just stopped working. And I think that's a safety feature, just because if you have your foot on the brake, you don't have much control of the wheel. And so once I had no use of the brake, I could kind of steer us just so we weren't going to go over the edge. Because the best part, the kicker here, is there is no guardrail from the very long, steep drop to the bottom of the ocean. And so we slowly started going back down, and there's those people that we slowed down for at the bottom at this curve, and they got to watch the whole thing. So I went into a panic, and Alannah said, just hit your safety. And so when you're in a panic, you have to put your foot up significantly higher to actually hit the e-brake. But we finally got that under control, and then we started slowing down, and we got just to the bottom of the hill, and then tried to compose ourselves. And the GoPro doesn't do much justice. It just kind of looks like us just rolling back down the hill to where we started. But yeah, that wasn't a lot of fun. So we're here, and then we talked to the people at the bottom, and it was actually another woman who had tried going up in her car, had summer tires on her vehicle, and she didn't get up. So she actually had someone about to tow her up the hill, and so we watched that once we were at the bottom, and so they made it up safely, thankfully. But we have a big clunky van, so we're not going to be able to get someone to tow us up unless we call someone in with a big hefty vehicle. But the guy that towed the other woman up, he's going to try and get a truck to come and salt that one section, just because it was pretty slippery. Even when we were standing there, we were kind of slipping on the ice. So I have a feeling we're just going to post up here for tonight, and hopefully someone comes tonight or tomorrow and just salts that road, and we'll have a bit more traction. So yeah, I think it's just better for us to stay put. But this is a beautiful place, so I'm you know what, I'm actually kind of okay with us being forced to stay here a little bit longer. We've got some horse buddies hanging out with us right in front of where we're parked, and sounds and sights of the ocean. Can't complain. Not entirely sure if these are wild horses or not. They've kind of just been walking up and down the hill from where we're parked just back there. And yeah, they're right across the street from us. What a nice looking animal. Being stuck's not so bad, eh?
Being stuck is fine. Just flash before your eyes, rolling down a cliff part.
Your life flashing before your eyes. So you can see that is the first steep section from behind those trees. That goes right up the guardrail. And that's actually the bend right there. So there is a guardrail for that section. But then after this curve here, there's a curve right at this bend. And then it goes up even steeper, but that part is not paved. And so that's the part we almost got 3/4 of the way and then started rolling back right there. So a little bit of Monday night excitement. Now we really can't leave.
Oh my god, it's coming right up. Please don't damage our vehicle.
Well, it's an adventure now. He's like, here, let me at least give you a car wash. Let me at least wash your vehicle for you. Look at this. Hi. Hi. We've got Henry, Jorge, and Harriet. Getting really curious of Walter and us over here. And Diesel's just clueless. He's back there cleaning himself.
Chocolate.
Yeah. Everything's really good besides getting stuck in Meat Cove. Elena was just saying that should be a bumper sticker.
I got stuck in Meat Cove. There's a few people having a fire nearby, and I was talking to them earlier. They're from Halifax, and they come here a few times a year. And they said around this time, when it's a bit icy, they usually see people stuck and needing some help to get out. So thankfully we didn't get like stuck.
We
Yeah.
didn't fall off a cliff. I would say that's the main thing. We probably can do it. We're just gonna go up with a little more juice tomorrow.
Yeah, we're getting out of here tomorrow.
Yeah.
We could just ride these horses out of here.
Yeah, we've got chocolate. We're surrounded by horses. Horses just gave us a car wash, so
We saw a whale breach.
we got a place to park. Definitely grateful we have a home in our vehicle. We have warmth and water and food, and we're good. You excited to attempt the hill again today?
It was not a good feeling yesterday. I'm still not okay.
You seemed pretty composed yesterday.
I have to be composed for you.
All right. Following day, we're going to give it another go. I have a shovel up in the cargo box, so we're going to get up to the base of the hill, and then I'll see how slippery it still is. It was cold last night, and it was nice and sunny this morning, so I was going to wait for the sun to kind of melt away any ice that's on that part of the road, but just as fast as the sun came out, the snow clouds came in, so it looks like there's quite a bit of snow coming in the forecast, so yeah, we're going to
Get out of here.
get out of here. Yeah. I gotta go back down the hill. Give her a running start. Well, I got nowhere to get momentum, right? So. Okay, well, we spoke too soon. We got up to the base of the hill and someone had salted, as we had said. We probably, if we could have just continued, we would have made it to the top, most likely. There were still patches of snow. I turned around. I wanted to go back to the bottom of the hill just so I could get more momentum because I was at a stop within the 10 minutes to get to the bottom of the hill and then come back up again. The road already had a few centimeters of snow on it, like big, fat, chunky snowflakes coming down. The very base of the hill is a S-bend, so regardless, even when I get momentum, I still have to brake it a little bit just to go around that corner safely. I was staying steady on the gas and the tires just I wasn't getting the momentum. I wasn't confident enough to continue on. So we're staying put right now because I think that's the best thing to do. The snow is fairly thick, so if we start kind of jimmying our way back down the hill, it could potentially just end up worse for us. We're not in the ditch. We're still just kind of tucked off on the side of the road. A nice gentleman who lives in town has a 4x4 truck. Thankfully, he's going to go back down, get some tow straps, and we're going to try that method. So we're eating something, having some water, because we haven't really done that yet. So making some oatmeal back there, just so we can make proper decisions and not have any more meltdowns. We got this. We're gonna get out of here. We're still having lots of fun. Yes, yeah. Holy shit. Oh.
Yeah, the hill just starts right there. I'll follow you down, but there should be no problem.
Okay, thank you so
Enjoy
much.
your trip.
Thank you so much. Update, we are up that hill. The snow's died down a bit. Roads aren't terrible here, but thank you, Haines, for being our saving grace. Yeah, what a morning. What a morning.
The last few days, we ran into some pretty gnarly weather when we were on the trail. We started doing the western side of Cape Breton Island, and we just hit snow squalls and heavy rain and wind. Wind was up to 130 kilometers in some spots along the coast. As you probably could have guessed, in December, I'm pretty sure we're the only ones traveling on the trail this time of year.
Because my grandparents are from here, they've always told stories about how wild the weather can be out here, especially in the late fall, winter months. And I called my grandmother the other day and I'm like, you are joking?
Yeah.
It's pretty intense out here. It just changes so fast, and we definitely got a really big taste of that out in Meat Cove, where it was really nice to be there, but unfortunately we did have a little bit of a getting stuck mishap, and we were like, you know what, we just can't mess with the weather up here. So we just continued driving, and we ended up posting up in Inverness behind like some museum and just stayed inside because it was so cold and the van was shaking because the winds were so strong. And so we just kind of got up the next morning. We're like, you know what, let's just go back to Port Hawkesbury, regroup, get some resources, check out the weather. And then once we got back to Port Hawkesbury, it was actually really sunny out and nice. So we're like, okay, well, this is good. Yeah, we went for a couple walks, just kind of stayed warm.
Trying our best to stay warm. That's been the goal. Still very grateful for the trip that we did get to have. And I've always heard how wonderful the people are on the East Coast, and I'm so glad we got to experience that Cape Breton hospitality. Like, apparently there's only 4 people that live in Meat Cove seasonally, and we just so happened to run into Haines, who owns one of the resorts in town there, and so friendly, like so quick to just get in his truck, grab the stuff, and help us up the hill. Like, there was no questions asked. Yeah, again, one of those places we're just gonna have to keep on that list and come back again
when it's warmer.
Still got a little bit of time here in the Great White North before we start heading south, so can't wait for that, and can't wait to bring you along with us. This last trip on the East Coast was a great finale to our northern chapter of the journey, and perhaps a good reminder that we should probably begin to head south like all the other travelers had done the month before. Now, whether this trip offered some form of escape from the craziness of this world, or pushed you into booking that next big trip, if you're one of the few that made it this far in the video, we sincerely thank you for being here and spending this time with us. As we begin to make our way south, we hope to leave you with just one message. It's a big world out there, and I believe we do it injustice by not experiencing it. Whether you're a traveler or not, we just hope you get out there and enjoy life as much as possible. Say yes to new opportunities and just do the things you're truly passionate about doing. Subscribe to follow along as we start making our way south and tackling whatever new adventures come our way. Thanks for following along, and we hope to see you down the road.